And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sharp versus Brennan. Step forward, please.
Food server Doris Sharp is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 39-year-old electrician John Brennan, for breaking a lease. John says Doris ran him out.
Ms. Sharp, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship. You lived together for many years, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Off and on.
And recently you signed a lease on a new apartment. You both signed on the apartment. It was a year lease. The defendant left after a couple of months, and you want him to pay for his half of the lease for the remainder of the lease. The defendant says that it was either leaving or killing each other. Aside from that, he left you with everything that you had acquired during the course of this long relationship. When did you sign a lease on this apartment?
This is the third year we had signed.
And what was the rent on the apartment?
$540 a month.
And when did he leave?
In June.
Had you been having difficulty before he left?
Well, he couldn't get out. He was on house arrest, so he couldn't go out and do anything. So as soon as he got off of house arrest, which was in June, I said, you know, ever since you're off of house arrest, I never see you anymore. And he says, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I never seen no money since then.
I asked you before he moved out in June. Had you been having trouble?
No.
What was he on house arrest for?
Violation of probation.
What kind of probation?
It was a drug-related charge.
Had he spent any time in jail?
Yes, he did.
How long, sir?
I did 7 months out of work release.
Tell me why you claim you left, Mr. Brennan.
Well, the relationship was just, it was getting over. It was over, and there was a point of just getting out before a bad situation got worse. I mean, it was over, and one of us had to go, so...
So why did you sign this lease in June?
I don't think the lease was signed in June.
It's right here.
Let me see, Bert.
It's right there.
Thank you.
I thought it was in April, but...
It was in April. You are correct, sir. All right, how large an apartment is it?
It's a one-bedroom, it's a little less than 800 square foot.
Okay, do you work, Ms. Sharp?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a server at Ryan's Steakhouse.
And how much do you earn a year?
$15,000 a year.
Do you have family in the area where you're living?
I have my daughter.
What do you plan to do when this lease is up?
Well, Your Honor, I wouldn't have been in a big bind, but when I came home, I spent $1,000 on my vacation, and he knew it. I've always went and seen my parents. It was my money I worked hard for, and I planned on paying it off. But then he's gone, and I'm missing $270 plus half the electric. And
I asked you a question, Ms. Sharp.
Okay.
What do you plan to do after your lease?
Try to look for a smaller apartment.
How can you find a smaller apartment? You have a one-bedroom apartment.
They have them. They have smaller bedrooms where you can get off the lake. It's cheaper.
How much cheaper?
$100.
Okay. So you could move into an apartment that would cost you $100 less a month that you plan looking into, right?
Yes.
But you plan on staying there.
Yes, I'm staying there right now because it's too hard for me to move right now.
Listen, so you have to live someplace, Miss Sharp.
Yes, that's why I'm there.
Of course, you have to live someplace. Now, if you said to me that you took a two-bedroom apartment because you needed lots of room, I would say to you, well, it's possible that you could look for a roommate, to help you with your expenses. You want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter.
Well, you step up. I'm going to
Thank
hear
you,
you
Your
briefly.
Honor.
It better be relevant.
It will be. She wants to move to a lesser apartment. She can afford $400 a month. The smaller apartments at Carlton Arms, Your Honor, are efficiencies. She's nervous, and that's all. They're just not available, and it would cost her more to move, Your Honor.
I need a $1,000 deposit someplace. I can't come up with that kind of money right
Sit
now.
down.
Yes, ma'am.
He's got the key to the apartment too. He can come and go when he wants.
Just to say, he's not coming and going anywhere. He can always change the locks on the apartment.
No, I already asked that. I asked if I could change the locks on the
Where's
apartment.
the key?
And they
It's in my
said,
jacket pocket.
He'll turn it over.
I will.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Just relax yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
I mean, these people
I
are
just
together
wanted to say
for
one more thing. That's
no,
all.
you don't have to say anything else.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to know, Miss Sharp, over the years that you were together, Mr. Brennan says that he and you together furnished your apartment. Is that true?
yes, Your Honor, it was so good. It cost $50. All four chairs you could rock on like a rocking chair. And
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a television set?
Yes, I do.
What kind of television set do you have?
I got a 13-inch in the kitchen and another one in the living room.
Okay. And you bought that when you were together?
Yes, but he bought the stereo, so he took the stereo, which was the same price as the TV.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Well, then what furniture and household items do you say that you paid for jointly with Miss Sharp?
Everything.
Well, let me hear. Give me an
Well, I
example.
mean, there was a full kitchen. I mean, you name it. I mean, just dishes, silverware, just everything that you would find in a house.
Okay.
You know?
So dishes, silverware, everything that
juicers, blenders, toaster ovens, I mean, everything that you'd have in a house. I only took my personal stuff and the stereo. That's all I took.
Okay. What about the living room furniture?
I didn't take any of it.
I'm asking you, did you buy it together?
Yes.
I went and got it while he was in jail for $25 at the Goodwill. The whole house is furnished with Goodwill furniture. Everything.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know where she got it.
Yes. The couch
you
cost
don't know?
She's talking about a
$25.
couch. I don't, you know,
You have bedroom furniture.
We're
Where did you
going
get
back
the
The
6
bedroom
years.
furniture, I paid $70 for it from a friend. $70 for the whole thing.
Mr. Brennan, how much do you claim you spent over all the stuff that's in the house?
I wouldn't have an idea. To replace it, I don't know.
And the only thing that you took out of the house was the stereo.
Which was mine, yes.
What do you mean, which was yours?
Well, I bought that, and we bought her a television, a 27-inch television that I left there.
So you bought that together. And you bought the stereo with joint
Yes.
money. So that's
Yeah.
is that sort of an even
Correct,
swap?
yes.
Well, then I'm talking about the other stuff, Mr. Brennan. One of the things that you said that was appealing to me, quite frankly, is that you walked out of the house carrying your suitcase with your underwear in it, and you left her everything else in the house that you had accumulated over the 6 years that you were together. I just want some idea of what the value of that stuff was.
I can tell you the value. Probably everything, $200.
No, I don't believe that's true, Miss Sharp.
The chairs you rock in, you can
Miss
rock
Sharp,
away
Miss
on
Sharp,
it. He would have
pay
taken it
careful
with him.
attention to me, madam. You have to buy sheets, you have to buy towels, you buy dishes, you buy
There's
silverware.
Goodwill.
You buy,
I buy
Well,
everything at Goodwill. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm a Goodwill shopper.
Oh, good. Put your hand down, madam. I'm not
Okay.
interested in what you have to say.
Yes, Your Honor. I
Perfect.
apologize.
Mr. Brennan, you have to make some accommodation to Miss Sharp with regard to this lease that she's on, but she has to do whatever she can to sort of limit your responsibility. I don't believe two people should live together, especially if they're not married, when there's at least a possibility that there would be violence in the household should you remain together. Miss Sharp, you're going to have the luxury of living in a larger one-bedroom apartment for the next year at the same price as it would cost you to live in the smaller one-bedroom apartment that you say is not now available, but if it were available, you would move into. That means that Mr. Brennan is going to support this current apartment to the tune of $100 a month for the 12 months of the lease, or $1,200. Do you understand? Not the $3,240 that you're looking for, because you're going to stay there anyway, albeit perhaps in a smaller apartment. I'm not giving you any credit, Mr. Brennan, for the items that you left. First of all, there's not a counterclaim. You can't account for exactly how much money that was. Otherwise, in a living together situation, I would say, listen, you have bills, you have receipts for what you left. I will look at that. I'll cut it in half if you both contributed and deduct that from the $1,200.
I wasn't looking for that. I just wanted this to be over with.
Good. Now it's over with. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of
Thank you.
$1,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 440 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Sims. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Sullivan, I assume this is your daughter, is
Yes.
that right? And this is your son-in-law?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your daughter and son-in-law purchased a car that was for your benefit. That was back in
March.
March of last year.
Correct.
And the agreement was that you would make a monthly payment that would cover the car payment and insurance
Correct.
to your daughter and son-in-law.
Correct.
And you would have the car, and when the car was paid off, I assume it would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did have the car for a period of time. Then you had an accident with the car in
Correct.
a parking lot. And you called your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to you, you put a note on the car.
Yes.
Did you put the note on the other car, or did your son-in-law?
I put it on the car that I hit, right
Yes.
next to me.
On the note was,
My name, phone number, and that I worked next door at Randall's, and the phone number.
you believe he took the note off the car you
They-
hit
yes.
because they never contacted
Correct.
you. And there was damage to that car.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you, Mr. Sims?
No, ma'am.
And shortly thereafter, Mr. Sims repossessed the car and sold it. You are suing, according to your complaint, for the whole value of the car,
Correct.
which you're not entitled to. So let's be realistic. Let's say you're suing for the payments that you made on the car. April, May, June, July. and August, if you made the 5 months worth of payments.
And I did not miss a payment.
Okay.
I was told...
And that's your statement. I did not miss a payment.
And
that was our agreement, and he had no right to take the car back,
Right.
and therefore I want the payments. How much were your payments each month?
Well, he told me $200 when we signed the original agreement. $200 a month. That included insurance.
How much was the insurance on the car, Mr. Sims?
$62.96.
Mr. Sims, how much did you pay for the car?
I purchased the car for $1,500. I put $600 of the repairs to the car because I purchased it damaged.
Okay, and you sold it when?
About 2 weeks ago.
And how much did you sell it for?
$3,200.
And how much did you pay to fix it as a result of the accident that your mother-in-law had?
What she did, she bent the door around to the fender.
Just tell me how much you paid to fix it.
$150, but it didn't fix it correctly. It just made the door open and close. It did not repair the car back to the original condition.
Say nothing. Yet. Say nothing yet.
All right.
So let's say you spent $2,200 on the car.
Correct.
You sold it for $3,200, giving you $1,000 profit, and your mother-in-law gave you $137 a month times 5 equals $685.35. So you got that too.
Correct.
So this is going to take care of your counterclaim, because you're suing her for $660 for miscellaneous damages incurred in relation to the car. That's your counterclaim. That's out, because you had no loss, sir. You have a profit.
Okay, I understand.
You have a profit. So you suffered no damage. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Now let's talk about what your mother-in-law wants.
Okay, I need to speak.
Now I'm ready.
He works at a body shop. He didn't pay nothing to have that car fixed.
I don't care whether he did or whether he didn't.
And he raised the payments.
That has nothing to do with you.
He raised my payments from
To what?
$200 to $230 a month.
When did he
Before
change
I made the first payment, I'm sorry,
Just a second.
April.
Okay,
April
230.
11th. He raised it.
Is that right, sir?
Well,
Is that right or wrong? She has proof. I'm sure she has checks
here.
or whatever. Is that
yeah,
correct?
we agreed on the raise of the payment. It was due to the insurance increase.
So we have 230 less 62.96, 167.04 times 5, $835.20. I'm going to give you 1 minute, Mr. Sims, to explain to me why you don't think that you owe your mother-in-law $835.20.
We had an agreement that she was going to purchase the car, like you said. But also in that agreement, no one was supposed to drive the car. Well, she was letting the other brother-in-law drive the car, which I had a witness see him in the car. Also, she took the car to Chicago against my wishes, taking it out of town. Our original agreement was that the car was mine. I purchased the car, put it in my name, I put the insurance in my name, I registered it in my name, and I told her, here's the car, this is what we're going to do. You pay the car to me each month, and then when 13 months are over, I'll sign it over to you, do whatever you like. But in the time that you're driving the vehicle, the liability is on me with my insurance and everything covering me. I don't want anyone driving it. Drive it, do your errands, run back and forth to work. But I don't want the car leaving the state. I don't want the car going anywhere. Just keep it here in town.
Mrs. Sims, I read that. Read your defense, sir. However, your problem is you didn't take it back from her then.
Okay, you're right.
You took it back from her when she had an accident in the parking lot.
I didn't take it back from her. What she did, she was letting people drive the car. Then when she damaged the car, then when she damaged the vehicle, she brought the car to me and handed me the keys and wanted me to fix the vehicle. The daughter-in-law got upset with me and mad because I wouldn't file an insurance claim against my own policy to make me pay the increase over the next 3 years. And so they started feuding all over again. That's when I talked with her and I asked her, hey, we need to do something different here. Can you go get a loan for the balance due on the car? I can sign the car to you and we can quit all this fighting and carrying on and be done with it. You can do what you like. She agreed to go get her own loan.
Stop playing with the papers.
Sorry.
She went out, tried 2 or 3 different banks. No one would loan her the money because of her past history and her credit. It's so horrible she couldn't get it. So then she comes to me and says, you know what, I'm going to save the money for 6 weeks. Can you hold the car 6 weeks and I'll pay you in full? 4 weeks go by. She calls my wife and says, I got $20 to my name. I can't pay it. I said, okay, what are we going to do now? She said, well, I'm just going to take you to court and sue you for my interest. I said, well, how about I give you all your money back? I offered to give her every penny she paid, including the insurance. She agreed to that too. Then on Sunday morning, she calls and tells me, no, she don't want to do that either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do.
And later today,
the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Sullivan says son-in-law Chip Sims repossessed her car for absolutely no reason. Chip says Phyllis has been irresponsible with the vehicle.
What you should have done, Miss Sullivan, is take him up on his offer. Because if he was willing to give you all the money that you paid in the car, including the insurance, you should have accepted it. Because from me, you're only going to get the money that you paid on the car itself, less the insurance.
Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
The car, I mean, this was a business contract. I couldn't get a loan because I filed bankruptcy.
Show me the business contract.
Right?
Show me the contract. Show me what it says. Show me the
Can I say
contract.
something? Shh. Nobody drove that car. His so-called character witness has a warrant for his arrest for hitting a police officer.
Would you please stop talking and hand me the contract?
I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
There's the contract. This is my thing from bankruptcy. And
no, listen to me. I asked you for the contract.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a conversation with your mother about somebody else driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me when.
Less than a month into the deal with the car.
Tell me what the conversation was.
I called her to let her know that we had spoken to a fellow family member who saw someone else driving the car. When I asked her about it, she proceeded to cry and say, I would never do something like that. You told me you didn't want anyone driving the car. I wouldn't do that. I would never hurt you or Chip like that. That's our agreement. I wouldn't let someone drive the car.
Okay. I have to make a determination as to what your damages are, Miss Sullivan.
Okay.
And by the way, Mr. Sims, I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do. Otherwise, I cannot understand why somebody would not have contacted you to have their car fixed. It's not reasonable that if you come out and you see somebody left their name and number and said, I hit your car.
Right.
That they would not contact that person unless the note was taken off the car. In any event, I believe that you're entitled to, based upon this agreement, you're entitled to your money back, because this agreement says that if at any time I default upon my payments, Ronald has the right to take the car back, and I will forfeit any payments already made. She never defaulted on her payments, so you had no right to take her car back.
I didn't take the car back. She brought the car to me.
I don't believe that's true. And I believe that you made a profit. Now, just shh, quiet. I believe that you made a profit on the car. You don't have to make a really handsome profit. So instead of making $1,838, you're only going to make $1,000 worth of profit.
Because she'd already filed this suit once, which I had to hire an attorney to fight her the first time, that she never showed up to court. I had to
I don't
fight
have
my...
that. Listen to me, Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims.
I've got the original court date and a dismissal from it.
Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes,
I don't have that as part of a counterclaim.
Right.
In any event, what I'm telling you is, you have the right, if you sold the car, you made a profit. Your profit was in excess of $1,000.
Well, I kept the car for 5 months waiting to solve this case, waiting to go to court, which we had our court date. She didn't appear.
What difference does it make, sir? What difference does it make as far as the profit that you made?
Right, exactly.
She put in $835.20. That's less the insurance over a 5-month period, and she's entitled to get it back under your contract. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want them out of my life. I just want to go on about my own life and let her live her life, let me live mine.
He couldn't claim it on his insurance because he's got too many other insurance claims going on.
This isn't the first time in my life my mother's disappointed me.
My son-in-law, Chip, told me that I'm putting the stake in the family.
We warned her before she filed this suit to let her know she would never see me and she would never see her grandson again. She continued to do it, and I'm going to stand by my word.
I'm very hurt. I'm going to miss my daughter and my grandson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan versus King. Step forward, please.
Carpenter Gwen Morgan is suing her niece, 20-year-old hotel reservationist LaToya King, for vandalizing her car. LaToya denies the charge.
Ms. Morgan, I've read your complaint. The defendant is your niece, and it is your claim that she vandalized your car. You're going to tell me why you think she would do such a thing, and then, more importantly, you're going to tell me what proof you have that she did it. So let's start with the whys first. Why would she vandalize your car?
Well, around the beginning of December, I was called to my mother's house.
Your niece was living with your mother?
She lives with my mother.
For how long were you living with, is that your grandmother?
I lived with her all my life.
She ill?
Yes.
Who else lives there at the house with you?
Right now, just my grandpa and my son.
Is he all right? Your grandfather?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so then LaToya came home, and LaToya and the young man came to my mama's house, and we got into an argument because she didn't want the check to go direct deposit. She wanted it to come to the mailbox.
What check is she talking about?
This SSI check. I have the paper.
SSI check for whom?
My nephew, which is her half-brother.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Who's in charge of your brother's
My
SSI
grandmother.
check? Your grandmother is. So what do you have to do with that?
Well, the thing is, I'm my mother's provider because my mother's ill and mostly bedridden.
What do you mean she's your provider? What does that mean?
In-care health care provider for the elderly people.
You don't live there?
No, I don't. I don't, but I was hired to take care of her.
Whatever, I don't want to get into that. You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge.
Over a check. Whose check was going to be?
You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge of finances.
Whether the check come.
I don't care.
Direct deposit.
Finances, please. I don't have time to go into the whole thing. It's not necessary.
Okay.
That's what the argument was about.
Yes.
The argument was about money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, "Ha B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person."
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gwen Morgan says after a family argument, her niece, LaToya King, vandalized her car. LaToya says her aunt has a lot of enemies.
Ms. Morgan, when was the argument about money? Give me the date.
On December 27th.
When was your car vandalized?
Well, I woke up on the 28th I got out there about 6 o'clock a.m.
And your car was vandalized?
Yes.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
Can I see them, please?
Thank you.
Okay, clearly somebody vandalized your car. They flattened your tires, scratched it up, painted it up. Nasty. Now, the next question is, what proof do you have that your niece was responsible for this damage?
Okay, after the disturbance, she called the police and told the police all kind of lies where he just wrote an incident disturbance report. So I went home to my apartment, and she kept calling my house, telling me that if I didn't come back over there to fight her and the young man, that she was going to come over to my house and tear my car up. She wanted me to come out in the rain and fight with both of them.
Do you have a police report?
No, I just have the case number for the police.
Okay. Ms. King, want to try to explain to me what happened at your house?
First of all, she has a lot of enemies, but I know that's irrelevant. But the reason why we got into an argument was because she was trying to put her name on my brother's check, which my grandmother didn't want it. And how we got into an argument, me and my boyfriend was already at the house, and she came in. I didn't know what was going on. She was holding my grandmother down, making my brother go through her purse looking for his bank statements and all this. Why? I'm not sure.
What do you mean she was holding your grandmother down?
She was holding my grandmother down, making
what does that
my
mean?
brother, like forcing her to not grab her purse from my brother, which my brother is mentally challenged, so he's easily to be manipulated. So it's not his fault or anything, but she was holding her down. So I'm like, what are you doing? And then that's when we got into an argument. She was trying to fight me, but I didn't want to fight her. I just called the police.
And the police responded?
Yes. They came and they asked her to leave.
Is that correct? Did they tell you to leave?
They asked me to leave.
Do you know anything about her car?
No, ma'am. I mean, I didn't do anything to it, but I heard about it.
Why don't you tell me what you heard?
Her friend called my grandmother and told her that Gwen was hurt. Somebody had vandalized her car, and she was all upset to please call her. My grandmother told me, LaToya, Gwen may be hurt. The reason why my grandmother wasn't talking to her is because she took my grandmother to court and tried to sue her for $500 for the paperwork that she did for my brother, which my mom asked her to do.
What do you know about who vandalized her car?
I don't know anything about who vandalized it. That's how I heard it.
Did you vandalize her car?
No.
Ms. Morgan, she may have vandalized your car and he may have vandalized your car. You the boyfriend?
Yes.
I don't know. It's possible, but possible doesn't go in court. Do you understand, Ms. Morgan? You have to have proof.
Well, he told me that they did it.
Really?
Yes, he told me.
Oh, let me, just a second, step up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ms. Morgan, what did he say to you and when did he say it?
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, "Ha ha, B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person, but I tore your car up, me and LaToya tore it up, and they told me over the phone that they was going to tear it up if I didn't come out to fight." And
where were you when he said to you, "We tore your car up"?
Going down my mother's main cross street. I go over to by my mother sometimes because I know people that live in the area because I've been over there all my life.
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you're going. When and where were you when he first told you that he tore up your car, madam?
It was on a Sunday 2 weeks ago on the corner by my mother's house on Cypress Street.
I don't believe that, Miss Morgan. I don't believe that he told you 2 weeks ago, this past Sunday, as you were going by your mother's house. I believe that they might have done it. That's not the issue. I believe you just made up that story.
No, he taunts me all the time. He does. Every time he sees me, he teases me, telling me that they tore my car.
Well, then he's not a very nice person. Did you ever do that?
I don't speak to this lady. I do not speak to her at all.
Miss Morgan, when you come to court, unfortunately, you understand you have to have proof. You don't have any proof that your niece tore up your car, and you don't have any proof that he tore up your car, and I don't believe that he admitted it to you, so your case is dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 396 on the calendar in the matter of Salinas Darabiji versus O'Shea. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
All right, who's going to speak?
I will.
Tell me your name.
Jennifer, Your Honor.
This is one of your dogs, and
yes.
According to your complaint, you had two. They were both the same breed.
Right.
And unfortunately, one of your dogs was killed by the defendant's dog.
Right.
You want him to be responsible for you securing another dog, which in your case involved flying out to a breeder, because that's where you got that dog from, and purchasing another dog.
Right.
The defendant says that your dog was off the leash at the time that his dog attacked yours, which I don't think he denies. You don't deny that your dog attacked a dog. And he is counterclaiming because he said that while at the vet, you attacked him and assaulted him, and he is counterclaiming. Tell me about your dog.
Well, she's beautiful.
No,
she,
no,
5
beautiful,
pounds.
I know. Beautiful,
yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
When did you get her? Where did you get her from?
Oh, I got her from Tampa, Florida.
Where do you live?
Sherman Oaks. And I researched over 50 breeders, both locally, you know, obviously for me, you know, very far. It didn't matter. You know, I knew that I wanted one.
When did you get the dog?
In the year 2000.
And it was also a Pomeranian?
Yes.
Now, did you travel on both occasions to get
Yes.
the dogs to Tampa?
Yes, to Tampa.
The breeder will not send the dog to you?
Not that small. She does have bigger dogs, but because they are bred down to be so little, I mean, when you pick them up, they're about 8 ounces. So they're very small, and to go underneath cargo is unacceptable for anyone.
So she insists that you come and pick them up?
Absolutely.
All right, tell me about the unfortunate incident involving Mr. O'Shea's dog. Your neighbors, I assume?
Yes. And I was not there, thank God.
Okay, you are, who was?
Me, Your Honor.
Your
My
last
name is Ray Darabiji.
Do you live together?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me what happened, sir.
Well, it was July 18th. My brother and I took out the girls, you know, just like every other night.
The girls, you mean the two little
girls?
girls?
Yeah. And we placed them on the grass, and no longer than we put them on the grass, his 2 dogs came out of nowhere, and I immediately yelled at Rod to grab Princess, and she just kind of...
She knew that the dogs were going to attack her.
She knew something was going to happen, so she really, you know, crept down. Rod scooped her up. That's my brother. And I tried to go after Prissy. That's the one that was deceased. And she was running away from him. And, you know, she had 2 pit bulls. You know, one was trying to, you know, get me, and the other one was going after Prissy. And...
Okay, so Mr. O'Shea's dogs came out of his house?
We don't know where.
Yeah,
where did they come out of, sir?
They came out of my apartment door.
Okay.
They weren't pit bulls, by the way.
What are they?
They're mixes.
They're much larger. Were you
Oh, yeah,
home?
they're definitely larger.
Were you home?
Yes, I was.
How did your dogs get out, Mr. O'Shea?
Well, I was actually leaving the apartment, and I have a screen door, like a security screen door, which they can see through. And their dogs were at the end of my driveway. And our apartments are very close together. And my dogs apparently saw them, and I didn't realize they were out there. But as I went to go leave my apartment, my dogs slipped past me. and ran down the driveway to go, as far as I know, to go play with the dogs. They didn't go out to attack the dogs. They're not attack dogs or wild dogs.
Well, they killed
one of
your dogs. Killed one of the dogs. So
right.
you are responsible.
Just by nature of the size.
What makes you think that you are not responsible?
For one thing, it's a legality that you have to have your dogs on leash.
That doesn't. That has, listen to me. Listen to me, Mr. O'Shea. The proximate cause of the death of her dog was not that it was off the leash.
Well, when animal control came over, animal control came to my apartment.
I'm speaking. My mouth is moving. The cause of her dog dying is because her dog was attacked by your dog that was off the leash.
Correct. So
her dog did not attack your dog. Your dog attacked her dog.
Well, actually, her dog ran up to my dog, so obviously there's a size differential there. So, well, I'm not saying that her dog attacked my dog.
Explain to me how that happened, Mr. O'Shea.
Well, my dogs ran up to their dogs ran up to mine, and a fight ensued between my bigger dog and one of their little dogs.
I don't believe you, Mr. O'Shea. That's a lie. That's a lie.
What part of that's
a lie? What part is a lie? Part that is a lie is that their dogs ran up to your dogs. Your dogs ran to theirs, ran out behind you because they saw two other dogs there. Your dog ran out and ran up to plaintiff's dog. They didn't come together.
Well, my dogs ran out, but their dogs definitely came towards my dogs. Dogs aren't usually stationary objects.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. My dog ran for her life.
Listen to me, madam. You weren't there, so don't interfere.
Okay.
I don't believe him.
Okay.
Can I say
I don't believe him. Can you what?
Something? My name is Veronica Rojarte. I'm the witness. I'm his roommate.
Come on.
Basically, every time that I'm out there with Junior or Oakley, there's been several occasions where her dogs do run up to my dogs, and they are on.
Were you there on the 18th of July?
No, I wasn't. But
good. Then sit down.
Does that change the fact that her dogs were off leash? And that they're always off leash?
And that they
Let me explain something to you. The problem, Mr. O'Shea, is that the dog was not killed because it was off the leash. The dog was killed because your dog was off the leash.
Right.
The reason that her dog died is because your dog was not in control. Not in control by its owner. That's you. You are totally, completely, 100% responsible the same way, Mr. O'Shea, as if your dog ran up to a child that was not being supervised by a parent and bit it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have limited patience with people that won't accept responsibility, Mr. O'Shea.
Well, animal control said that.
I don't care what animal control said. You think animal control has more degrees than I do?
And later today.
What kind of problems was your son having with Mr. Atkins?
They argued constantly.
He argued with a 5-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Salinas and her boyfriend, Ray Darabiji, are suing neighbor Sean O'Shea for the cost of a Pomeranian puppy and punitive damages. The couple says Sean's dogs killed their pet.
Your dog killed her dog because your dog wasn't in your custody and control.
But the dog was on my driveway, on my property.
That's, just a second. You didn't even see her dog when you, because that's what you just said to me. You said, I didn't even see her dog until I got outside.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Oh, yes, you did.
Well,
that's
okay,
what
so
you
I'm
said.
inside my apartment.
No, that's what you said. You said, I didn't even see her
but the
dog.
second I stepped out of my apartment, I'm obviously seeing the dogs and my dogs. So I don't think I'm lying here. I think you're
Mr. O'Shea, yes, you are, because you said, I didn't even see her dog, and all I saw was my dog scooting out.
How long does it take somebody to walk outside their apartment
Mr.
door?
O'Shea, you are 100% responsible. It's your dog. It's a big dog, capable of causing injury. That dog has to be within your control all the time. If it's not, you are responsible. That's my law. Now let's get to your counterclaim, and then I'll get to the amount of money that it's going to cost to replace that dog. No, let's get to your counterclaim.
Okay.
I have limited patience with people that won't accept responsibility, Mr. O'Shea.
Well, animal control said that.
I don't care what animal control said. You think animal control has more degrees than I do? Now let's move on to your counterclaim. Let's move on to your counterclaim, sir. If the animal control had more degrees than I do, they'd be a judge and I'd be animal control. Now let's move on. Let's get to your counterclaim. So, I'm ready.
Anyways, I arrive at the vet's office. My roommate James got out of the car with me. When I walked up, she was hysterical and crying and standing with a friend of hers a little ways down. And I talked with the plaintiff's brother. They told me that what the bill was, and I said, you know, I'd like to pay for that. And I wrote them a check right then.
Good.
And when Jennifer came close to us, she saw my roommate and for whatever reason assumed that he was the owner of the dogs. And she was pretty hysterical. At this point, she had already fallen on the sidewalk several times and was crying hysterically and screaming. And she attacked my friend, James.
How did she attack James?
Well, she ran up to him, screaming and saying various things about her dog dying. And with closed fists, started hitting him in the head, in the face and neck. And James, to his credit, put his hands up and just stood there and didn't do anything. And this went on for about 25 seconds until somebody pulled her off of him. At which point, somebody, I guess, explained to her that they weren't James's dogs, but they were my dogs. At which point she came after me. And she started hitting me about the face and neck with closed fists. And I also raised my hands to protect myself because she swings pretty good.
Okay, Ms. Salinas, let me hear about it.
I'm not going to deny what I had done, but I was nuts.
Okay, Ms. Salinas, that's no excuse.
No, these dogs.
That's absolutely no excuse.
No, there is not. You're absolutely right. And the next day, I called him. My girlfriend that I was down the street with, I was holding her so tight, I left my nail marks in her back.
Ms. Salinas.
No, I understand. I called him the next day, and I said, Sean, excuse me, he did not call me. My dog is dead. I saw what I had done. I took responsibility for, I realized then what I had done. I took responsibility for what I did. I called Sean and I said, Sean, please excuse my behavior from last night. I would never react that way. These are my little girls. These are my life. Please understand that. And he said, Jennifer, I understand. I would never, expect anything less than that. And he,
Ms. Salinas.
To be attacked?
Yeah, that's exactly
what
you said. You understood, Sean.
I understand somebody being upset about losing their dog.
No, I agree that this
no
unacceptable behavior. I do agree with you 100%.
You have photographs of your injuries, sir?
No, I don't actually.
No, of course, because he had no injuries.
How much did you pay for the dog, Ms. Salinas?
$1,200.
You have the bill? You purchased the dog in August of 2002?
That's correct. This is for our new dog that we just, I borrowed the money from my parents to
you purchased a new dog. This is for a new dog that you purchased.
That's for the new dog.
How much was the dog that was killed?
$1,200.
$1,200.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. It's the same amount.
Do you have a receipt for that?
Breeder.
I believe that that's probably true. Beautiful animal.
Thank you.
And the plane ticket was how much?
$800.
You have a receipt for that?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
Since my parents paid for my ticket, I don't have my receipt, but his, which we obviously flew the same flight, so we had a problem getting her copy.
There you go.
These are all the other.
These are all the other receipts.
For what?
For the rent-a-car over in Tampa.
No, not to mention the, after Priscilla died, we had her cremated.
Delta Airlines. I have $408.
Right, and for his ticket. And then I don't have a copy of my mother's credit card.
Well, what's $800?
For both of our tickets.
You don't both have to go and get the dog.
Well, it's our dog. We wanted to pick her out together.
Listen, Miss Salinas, he's not paying for you going as a couple.
Fine.
That's $1,600. That's for the dog and your plane ticket. Now, Mr. O'Shea, did you seek medical attention for any of your injuries? Did you have any marks as a result of the injury?
I did have bumps on my head, yeah.
I think that you should be compensated for that. I think that Miss Salinas can't say, I was so upset. She's an adult. She's an adult gal. She can't say, I was so upset. I was overcome by the moment, and therefore I am entitled to assault you. She's not entitled to assault you.
Absolutely not. I agree.
Well, Mr. O'Shea, how much do you think that assault was worth?
To me, $2,000 seemed fair.
Really? Were you planning on suing her?
No, I wasn't.
Well, then why, from not planning to sue her, to $2,000?
Because when things turned ugly, because I didn't have her arrested because I didn't want to handle it that way. And when I found out that I was being sued, I felt I should protect myself to the best of my ability. And I already felt that I'd pretty much let her, I mean, the only person that committed a crime here was her.
That's true. So I think that the airfare that she spent getting her dog is going to be her responsibility. So I'm deducting $400. That's your responsibility, which ordinarily you would have gotten. But the cost of the dog you're going to get. Judgment for the plaintiff, because I'm deducting that amount. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200, which is the cost of a new pet. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is a liar, because when I did call him the next day, I did apologize, and he said, Jen, don't worry about it. I understand.
He's my next door neighbor, and I really didn't want to cause a really ugly situation.
I just think it's ironic that if he felt he was assaulted, that he filed his countersuit or counterclaim
3 days ago.
We're still neighbors, but I don't think we're going to be too neighborly.
And parents need to be responsible for their kids' actions.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Corcoran versus Bilby. Step forward, please.
19-year-old college student Jamie Corcoran is suing her ex-roommate, 19-year-old student Erin Bilby, for totaling her car. Erin says she was the designated driver because Jamie was drunk.
All right, Ms. Corcoran, this is not a very difficult case. You were at a party and got drunk. The defendant was with you. You go to school together?
We're suite mates.
In school?
Yeah.
So the answer is you go to school together?
Yes.
And you gave her the keys to your car to drive home because you had had too much to drink.
Well, that was the arrangement.
Excuse me?
That was the arrangement, like prior.
You gave her the keys to your car because you were too drunk to drive?
Yes.
She drove home because she was not too drunk to drive.
Right.
Is that right?
That is right.
And you had an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And your car was severely damaged. And you want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
And you don't think you have any responsibility.
No, I didn't say that.
Huh?
I was willing to split the damages with her because there was 3 of us in the car, and I thought all 3 of us had equally were at fault. So I think I'm responsible partly, yes.
How much was the damage to the car?
The final estimate is $3,107.
What year car is this?
92 Saturn.
92 Saturn's 10 years old. How much is the car worth?
31 Blue Book. Like, it's totaled, so Blue Book value is 31.
So you can't drive the car?
No, it's totaled.
So what are you going to do with the money?
I have to buy a new car, or I can fix it and sell it.
You're not going to fix it and sell it. Because if I give you a little bit of money from her, where are you going to get the other money? To fix it and sell
I'm
it?
just going to have it totaled and put the rest of the money towards a new car. I don't have any money either. We're both college students. We don't have very much money.
Right. And you know what that means? That means that you don't drive your car when you're drinking. Don't drive the car at all.
I wasn't. I was drinking before we left, and it was already said I wasn't driving. I wasn't planning on driving at all. And she knew that I was drinking before I left. She knew.
Ms. Corcoran, let us say I give you $500, and I say to her, listen, you had the accident. You should share in the responsibility of fixing this car.
I bought a car. I took out a loan. I was taking taxis to and from work.
Just a second. Well, wait, what is it? Did you buy a car?
Yeah, I bought one. My mom co-signed a loan for me.
What kind of car did you buy?
A 96 Paseo.
Keep your voice up. You don't have to be embarrassed. Tell me how you had this accident, Miss Bealby.
When we were driving back from the party, I've never driven in this area before. It was my first time actually being in downtown Buffalo, which is where we go to school. I was on it was an overpass, and there was a concrete reinforcing wall, and it had been raining out.
What month?
It was September 16th, the night of the accident.
Go ahead.
It had been raining out, and, I'm used to driving in New York where it's raining or it's snowing, and the tires slipped on me, and, usually I can gain control very quickly after that happens. And I continued to hydroplane and lose control, and that's when I ran into the concrete reinforcing wall on this overpass.
You have any recollection of that at all?
Yeah, I know what happened.
So tell me what happened.
We, just like she said, we were driving, and the turn's very sharp. I have pictures of it. Do you want to see it?
Could you speak slower? I can't understand you.
I'm sorry. The turn's very sharp, but there were signs. There were signs like 25 miles an hour, 90-degree turn ahead. Well, she was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and my other roommate was in the back, and we're just driving, and she just went straight is what happened. She didn't even turn. I don't think she knew that the turn was coming up. We definitely weren't sliding. She definitely slammed on the brakes.
It's an accident. She doesn't have to pay for anything. She wasn't speeding. She wasn't drunk. She had an accident. That's what you have insurance for when you have an accident. If you hadn't been drinking, she wouldn't have been driving your car. I don't think she's responsible to pay for your new car at all. I think you got to pay for your new car. And next time, take the bus.
Okay.
Leave the driving to us if you're going to be drinking. Goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Every time I'm with her or around her, I've been brought pain.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Duval. versus Eddie. Step forward.
21-year-old student Amy DeVault is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old car salesman Cliff Eddy, for the down payment on a car and for several unpaid loans.
Mr. DeVault, according to your claim, the defendant owes you for a down payment that you loaned to him for a car.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Eddy, if I'm reading your answer correctly, sir, you acknowledge that she gave you the down payment for the car. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was a loan.
That's correct.
But you say she owes you money, so it's a wash.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can go over the basics very quickly. You were living together with him when you made this loan?
For a very short time, yes.
What's the short time?
I probably had moved in and moved out within a matter of 4 or 5 days.
And during that 4 or 5 day period is the time that you made this loan?
Yes.
Don't you ever watch this courtroom? Ever? Did you ever see the cases here?
Yes.
Did you ever learn anything?
I've learned a lesson now.
Sometimes you have to get burned yourself, and you can't learn by somebody else's mistakes. But I want you to keep watching. And how much was the down payment that you loaned to him?
The down payment was $1,000, and the loan was just over $1,000 for the coverage in case we couldn't make a payment.
You're suing for $1,711. What's the rest of the money for?
I had moved in with him, and I'd given him $200 for my share of the rent. I had also paid a few bills for him, which he ensured that I would be reimbursed for, a water bill and groceries, things like that. I bought tons of things for him. You know, I'll pay you back. I just don't have money right now, he assured me. He'd lost his job, and he had paychecks that had insufficient funds behind them.
I mean, all this happened in the 4 or 5 days?
No, we had been dating for a couple of months.
According to your complaint, you have some sort of an IOU that he wrote.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to see it. Where did you get this note from?
From a store where you purchase stationary legal documents.
When did you purchase this?
In the beginning of June.
Last June?
Yes.
And tell me what days you lived with him?
Approximately the end of May, beginning of June.
And what made you have him sign this June 30th note?
I had moved out and I wanted the money for the rent money that I had given him, and I wanted it back because I didn't live there for more than 2 or 3 days in June, which the money was for June's rent, and he had spent it.
Show this to him, please. Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, it is.
So you signed this note for $315, right?
That's correct.
Now, I'm just curious, Mr. Vault, what happened to the $1,000 for the car?
After the loan had gone through, we went to the bank and we had cashed.
No, but I'm asking you is you moved out.
Yes.
Right? So why would you have him sign a note for $315 when actually he owed you, according to you, at least $1,300? Why is this only for $315?
I have a second contract.
Let me see it. All right. Well, we're talking about two different things. You took out a loan. Now, was this the loan for the car?
Yes.
All right. He's paid off the car loan.
No,
Is that right, sir?
No.
That's what you said.
I paid off the balance of the vehicle. This was a separate loan through Wells Fargo Bank.
For what?
For $1,000 cash, down payment for the vehicle.
Oh, I see. This you didn't pay off?
No.
Okay. Now, your defense is, sir, that she owed you money.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Well, we started dating. We dated for about 4 or 5 months. She was in a sorority house then, and she would stay over at my house frequently, almost every night. When summertime came, you have to leave the house for the summer. So she moved in with me then. In the process of that, I was working at a dealership in Corvallis there, and I was looking for another vehicle. I went down to...
Could you get what she owes you money for, sir? Is that what we're getting to?
Yeah. That's what we're getting to.
Let's get there faster.
Okay. But I went down to the bank to get the loan. I couldn't get the loan because I have bad credit. So she was living with me at the time. She offered to help me out with that. We did that. There was no necessarily written contracts or anything of that
Get
nature.
to what she owes you money for, sir. I already got that part of the story. I finished with that. What does she owe you money for? What do you think? I don't remember my question? I'm not that old. Get there. Go ahead.
Well, she owes me money for the $315. I don't think is a necessary reimbursement. Other than that, the vehicle loan was paid off. There was no written contract for that. I don't think that I owe that money. The $315.
Listen to me.
It should be a wash.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I want you to tell me. I don't want you to tell me, sir, that this you don't think is right, and this you don't think is right.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense to this case is she owes me money, and therefore the $1,700 she's suing me for, the loan and the promissory note, it's a wash because she actually owed me about the same amount of money. That's your defense. Now, so you either have two things that you can do. Either you can say to me, I didn't know what I was doing when I wrote my answer because she really doesn't owe me any money. And my defense is, blah. Or you can tell me what she owes you money for.
She lived with me for about 4 months.
Okay, go ahead. She lived with you for 4 months. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, she lived with me for about 4 or 5 days, about 2 weeks, I would rather say. About 2 weeks. But the whole time prior to that, she was staying at my house almost every single day.
Yes.
And that was a matter of bills and whatnot.
Go ahead. So what does she owe you?
My duplex ran about $750 a month was my rent, plus the bills. All the bills were in my name. I lived there by myself.
Yes.
For the whole time together, I think that it should be a washout. It's a washout.
When she would come over and stay at your duplex with you, did she also maintain a room in the college dorm or someplace else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you pay for half of that rent?
No.
Did you ever have an agreement with her to pay for half the rent while she was staying over at your house periodically?
Mm-mm.
So I want you to go like this. Blah, 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 blah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. I'm not sure which one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Excuse me.
This is case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Fong versus Chung. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Fong, you tell a very, very aggressive story about actions taken by the defendant, who was then your boyfriend. For some reason, which I'm sure you will explain, you decided that you didn't want to prosecute this case criminally. Is that right?
Yes.
When did this incident take place?
January 27th.
Tell me what happened on January 27th.
Defendant Albert Chen, he discovered that I was going to display clothes at a ballroom dance school, and he became very jealous. And
he went with you?
He insisted he has to go. While we were there, he took me into a storage room. He started screaming at me, calling me names. He also attempted to burn my clothes and burn my face using a lighter.
In the storage room?
Yes, he tried to injure me and burn my face.
You managed to get free, according to your complaint, from the storage room. Is that right?
Yes, there are people there and people knocked on the door. He left, and when I tried to leave, he was there behind my car.
And he got into the car with you?
Yes, so I gave him a ride home. While I was driving, he blew anger at me. He punched in the windshield and tried to break the window. He also pulled the handbrake, tried to stop the car, and he yelled at me and tried to grab me out of the car. He said he wanted to die with me. And there are policemen behind us, and they took him out of the car.
And you were actually taken into custody. Is that right, sir?
No, the police took me out because I have an open can of the beer, and then they thought I was drunk. But
Where did they put you, Mr. Chung?
On the street.
They left you just on the street?
On the street.
You left, is that right?
I told the policeman I was very scared. I do not want the defendant to be in my car again. The police officers told me I could file a police report. And
did you do that?
Yes, I went to a local station and filed a police report.
That night?
That night. And an emergency restraining order was granted to me that night.
And what happened when you got home?
When I stepped into my house, it was close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard defendant Albert Chen leave a message on my recording. He sounded angrily on the phone. He threatened me to pick up the phone. I did not pick up the phone. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I knew it was him, so I did not answer. And I tried to call 911. And defendant called in my phone at the same time, so I could not dial out. He threatened me to give him $35 for the taxi fare.
For the cab fare?
Yes. I refused, but he threatened that he'll make a scene out of it and wake up my neighbors. So I brought the money out and gave it to him. He forced his way in. Once he's inside, he grabbed me and threw me on the ground. He got on top of me. He twisted my wrist. He injured my spine and my joint, and he attempted to rape me by pulling down and ripping my pants. And I brought my evidence of the ripped and torn pants.
I don't have to see them.
The elastic was broken.
Go ahead.
And I started screaming, and he stopped. For the rest of the night, he abused me by threatening me to drain the toilet cleaner. He forced me to smell lighter gas. He threatened me that if I reported to police, he would kill me.
How did it come about that he left your apartment?
My mother called about 9 o'clock in the morning. The first time he did not let me answer the phone. I said, if I don't answer, my mother will call the police. Then he let me answer the phone. My mother said she was coming over. So then the defendant left. And I called the police and made the second police report. But I told the police officers that I do not want him to be arrested because I was too scared that this guy will retaliate.
Let me see the police report.
This is the first police report. This is the second one. And the bottom is stated that I asked the officer to not arrest the defendant.
Why?
Because I was too terrified.
Then why do you come to court now, Ms. Fong?
Because it's 4 months after, and also putting him in jail is very intense, that he will become very angry and retaliate. I also have the photos of the policeman talk on me. It was taken on my face that was injured, also on the damaged carpet, on the damaged closet door, the damaged portable closet, and also the burned clothes. The policeman also took his lighter and burned clothes for evidence.
All right, Mr. Chung, I have a couple of questions for you, sir, because I've read your answer. Now, there is no question that you did, in fact, pull the emergency brake. Is that right?
Yeah, I did pull the emergency brake, the handbrake, yes. I want to mention why I need to pull the handbrake, because I told her to stop the car because I feel we were arguing in her car and she drives pretty dangerous. That's why
I read your story. That's not a reason to pull a handbrake.
Okay.
She hadn't been drinking that night you had. You had an open can of beer, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So the police took you out of the car. And how long did you stand out on the street waiting for a taxi cab?
Around like an hour and a half.
And you were very angry at that time?
Yes, I was angry.
Then why did you go to her house that night?
Because
there's no question that you went back to her house. Is that right?
Right.
Now, you didn't live with her.
I did not live with her.
Then why did you go back to her house after being very angry? Listen to me, Mr. Chung, because I'm very smart. You tried to get out of the car. She wouldn't let you out of the car, according to you. You were so frightened of the way she was driving erratically that you pulled the emergency brake on the car, according to you. Is that right?
Yes.
The police came and rescued you. Is that right?
No,
they rescued you by getting you out of the car. Is that right?
Right, just getting me out.
That's according to you. They rescued you by getting you out of the car. Now you're rescued. She can't hurt you anymore with the car. So, quiet.
Excuse me.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
So you're standing outside for an hour and a half, and it's very late at night. About midnight?
And midnight.
And very cold.
And really, really cold.
And you don't live with her?
No.
Then why don't you go home?
Because...
No, look at me. Why don't you go home?
Because I was angry, and I heard she told the police I'm making trouble on her, and I was angry. I just wanted to go to her home.
So you were angry?
Right.
So now you arrive at her house after having had a little to drink, being out in the cold for an hour and a half, and you're very angry. And what do you do when you get to the house, Mr. Chung?
I want to talk to her.
What do you do? Did you call her and tell her you wanted $35 for a cab?
Oh, I did.
She gave you the $35 for the cab. Is that right?
Right.
Was the cab waiting for you?
They kept waiting for me.
And then you went back upstairs.
Right.
Why did you go back to her apartment?
I was angry, and I know I was stupid. I go back to her house.
So what did you do to her when you got to the apartment?
I argued with her.
Tell me how you argued with her,
Okay.
sir.
I told her, you know, how come she just ignoring me? And when the police come, she told the police just don't know me, something like that, just like her, just like friend.
Are you telling me, sir, that you didn't put your hands on her?
Oh, I never put my hand on her.
No, he's lying.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manessa Fong says ex-boyfriend Albert Chung injured her during a sexual assault. Manessa says Albert terrorized her over the course of 24 hours.
How long did you stay there that evening?
All night.
Did she ask you to leave?
She never asked me to leave.
That's a lot of baloney, sir. That's baloney. Because even if you were only arguing with her verbally, she would have asked you to leave.
She didn't ask me to leave. She let me sleep in her living room at the floor. She told me, because I'm legally blind, I'm visually impaired, I cannot drive, and it was late, around like 2 o'clock, and she let me sleep in her living room, and next morning she woke me up, and then and then I left. But we were arguing for a long time.
Right.
Right.
Why do you believe that Miss Fong would have made 2 police reports if you had not threatened her?
Because when the argument, by the time, my language was very strong and insulting her, and she was angry. And I just want to make sure you understand, I didn't do anything physically.
I don't believe that, sir.
her,
I believe that you did something physically to her. I believe that you did. I believe that you went there that night and you were very, very angry.
Right.
And when you are very, very angry, based upon something that you did earlier that evening, you, for whatever reason, wanted her to stop the car, and you pulled the emergency brake up. You could see good enough to pull up the emergency brake.
I don't need to see, I can feel it.
Just like you can feel her face. You pulled up the emergency brake, which means, Mr. Chung, that you have a temper. And what she did later on that evening, which was, according to you, felt sorry for you and let you sleep on the floor of her apartment, that doesn't sound like the kind of woman who would not let you out of a car if you wanted to get out of the car. So you got a temper. You've got a temper.
What's
and I
temper
believe
mean?
that you punched the windshield on the car. Didn't break it, but I believe that you punched it.
I did.
Sure, because you have a temper. And that was before you were standing outside for an hour and a half in the cold at 1 o'clock in the morning. That was before. After you were really mad because she was ignoring you in the ballroom. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You better stay away from her because, you see this judge? You may get some very nice judge if you go near her again. You may get somebody who will be very sympathetic with the fact that you tell them that you can't see, you're legally blind, you're a poor soul, all right? You can't put your hands on anybody. Never. In anger. And get away with it. And I'm just very sorry that she didn't follow through. But I tell you something else. If you ever go near her again, ever, it is very possible that you're going to get unlucky and get somebody just like me. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And if you get somebody just like me, you're going to go to jail. And they don't care what your handicaps are. Do you understand?
Yes.
Keep your hands to yourself and stay far away from her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. Stay away from her.
Thank you, Your
You
Honor.
are excused. You may step out.
I was terrified. The defendant was threatening me if I arrest him and put him in jail, he will kill me and my family.
I didn't do it. And if I did it, after the police did the full investigation, I already been in the jail.
Way off limit.
And now the next case.
All parties on Caldwell versus Madrid. Step forward.
24-year-old clerk Mary Caldwell is suing her ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old plumber Janet Madrid, for an unpaid loan to buy a car.
Ms. Caldwell, you and the defendant were living together. You were in a relationship when you claim you made a loan to her to purchase a car for the down payment. Is that right?
Correct.
And according to you, the car down payment was $2,500. She made one payment of $200 to you, and has failed to pay the rest. You want your money back.
Yes, correct.
Defendant says there was never a loan. When was the car purchased?
July of 2000.
How long had you been living together prior to that?
Over a year.
Now, as part of the defendant's response to your complaint, she says that a year before that, you had wanted to purchase a car, and she sold a couple of motorcycles that she had. Is that right?
Yes.
And gave you the money to put down on a car that you wanted to buy. Is that true?
Yes.
How much did she give you?
I don't have an amount for you, I'm sorry.
Did you ever pay her back?
No.
You are living together at this time in a relationship as a family. Is that right?
Correct, at the time.
And am I also correct that this car that she purchased was put in both of your names?
Correct. For the reason that she didn't have a driver's license, she was unable to drive.
All right. Now tell me the circumstances surrounding this alleged loan, Miss Caldwell.
We were in a relationship. It was falling out at the time, but she asked me to loan her the money, in which I
What
loaned
did she
her.
say?
She said, I want to get a car, and I told her, okay, that's fine. I had the money on me. I said, well, it needs to be a loan. Do you understand that? And she said, yes. At that time, we went shopping around for a car. She chose the vehicle that she wanted. I made the down payment on it. She told me that she was going to pay me back. It was a verbal agreement between the both of us.
That sounds all pretty pat. All right, Miss Madrid, let me hear your version of it.
I never told her that I want to borrow the
No,
money.
I want you to tell me step by step. Don't tell me what you never told her.
We both said that we need a car.
Why? You already had a car.
No, because the car that she bought before this car had got repoed because she couldn't make the car payment on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that.
Sorry.
When had it gotten repossessed?
Maybe about 2 to 3 months before we bought this other car. And I was paying the last couple payments on that car because she couldn't pay for it. She lost her job. And so I said, I want to go get a car. And she's like, okay, yeah, we do need a car. And she had just got a settlement from an accident. And she's like, well, I have the down payment for the car. And I was like, okay, fine. I thought it was just like me giving her the down payment for her car. I thought it was an even swap.
Well, even swap. You said you gave her $800. This is $2,500.
Yeah, well, our whole relationship, you know, she never paid bills. I paid all the bills. She never paid rent, nothing. I supported her.
Your
She
Honor.
didn't have a job. She didn't have a job. Anytime she needed money, okay, here, Mary, here's some money.
So?
So I took the loan out on the car to finance the rest of the car, and I've been paying on it ever since.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. In February of 2001, you gave her $200. What was that for?
It was probably for insurance or something.
Your Honor, that is not true.
Because insurance was in her name.
Yes, the insurance was under my name because she didn't have a license. How was the insurance going to be under her name if she didn't have a
I
license?
asked you a question.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I do clerical.
Where? For whom?
For a hospital.
Which hospital?
It's actually called Medical Group.
How long have you been working there?
About 5 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
Prior to that, I was working at a temporary agency.
So you weren't working regularly prior to that?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about this alleged $200 payment.
When she was kicking me out of the house, she told me that she wanted all my stuff out of the house. I said, okay, that's fine. I'm moving all my stuff out of the house. She
What
told
day
me
was that?
maybe February, in the middle of February. So right around our supposedly anniversary is when it happened.
Well, tell me about it.
I asked her for money to give me some kind of repayment on the loan. She told me, okay, here's $200. She wrote me a check.
You have a copy of that check?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see it? Looks like she gave you money pretty regularly. What'd she give you money for pretty regularly?
Mainly to pay the bills.
No, she's got things here for the gas company. Pacific Bell? Here's one for $100 to you. On the bottom it says Janet Stuff. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Mary Caldwell, that's you, another $100. Mary Caldwell, $160. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a plumber.
Work full-time?
Yes.
All right, Miss Caldwell, let me tell you what I think, madam. What I think is that the two of you were living in a relationship as a family. And when the year before you wanted to buy a car, she gave you some money. And when the following year she wanted to buy a car and you had some extra money, you said, I'll put down the down payment, you make the payments, because you weren't working. You were working as a temp. And you were all living as a family. And now that you're not living as a family anymore, you say this was a loan. I don't believe you. Your case is dismissed.
Party's X.
33-year-old sheriff's deputy Edwin Brock is suing 55-year-old entrepreneur Donald Courtney for filing a false complaint after a traffic stop.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer, is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with Internal Affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000.
What time of day?
Approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts the sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Well, just tell me what you said. I inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because
I'm
of his
asking you.
actions.
I mean, we're not going to play I've got a secret in 20 questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go on your way. That sounds all
the
very
gentleman
nice.
here, while he's composed today, was
No,
quite...
no, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir, he comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did...
So he appeared agitated to
Yes,
you.
he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave him the
Tell me what
information
you
that he
said.
wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir.
Well,
untoward.
I'm about to share it with you. He was, he was very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and I couldn't understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
on
a Saturday morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who he stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get to,
The
Mr.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself. He didn't comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your Honor, may I make a point, please?
Yes.
Some of the points he made in the letter using the words...
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were
Just
looking
a
at...
second. Just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail, well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you with his finger, you and your limousine. And then you say he said to you, when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point, he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop, and the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes, it's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to remove from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
What are you stopping me for? You're the speed limit. What's the speed limit? 35? 35 where? On Speedy Boulevard, the Garden Gate. Are you serious? I'm very serious. Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew it. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where is it 35? From where to where?
Encinitas Boulevard to Garden View Road.
Okay, which is Garden View?
Just past.
Are you serious?
Well, that street's been there for 35 years.
No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned.
Well, let me start with the registration and insurance. How about that?
I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport.
How do you go to the airport without identification?
Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up.
There you go. Do you have your vehicle insurance with you?
Nope.
Right. That's the only one you have?
No, I have one.
Okay. Bring your insurance report with you. You got a license as well. Do not admit guilt to the charge for you being cited here for the speed violation. You have to appear in court for the charge. Do not admit guilt to anything. Okay. Your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay?
You said I'm not admitting guilt.
Well, your constitutional right, though. Even if you agree to...
What are you charging me for?
Speed violation, the proof of insurance in the vehicle.
Well, what is the speed violation?
What do you mean, what is the speed?
Well, what was I doing?
Well, you're over speeding. 48 miles an hour in 30 miles.
I mean, really. You really have nothing better to do than to stop me 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in this town? I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a question. When should I start writing tickets?
Well, let me say something to you.
No, don't say anything else.
Why not? I can say whatever I'd like.
You for sure can.
Yes.
Why you sign a ticket, though? You're going to sign the ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely.
Don't be pointing at me. Relax.
No, there's no more of that. I'm standing out here. I don't care who you call.
Well, I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time.
I don't care what happened to the last officer. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign the ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
You're not arguing. I'm trying to talk to you now.
I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket.
From what?
You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not.
I don't mind.
Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go.
I'm going to sign it. Relax.
You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign the ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else you go.
I don't know.
I'll take it there. You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right here. They can be taped later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate with cars going behind me at 40 and 50
I'll tell you,
miles
this
an
is
hour.
not the end of it. Respect,
you know what?
It's not the end of it.
You won't be the first one.
Oh, no, let me, you don't know what happened the last time I took an officer's report.
Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your things, your thumbprint case, since you don't have any driver's license. Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day.
I got a problem.
Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day.
Respectfully, you weren't there. You
I
didn't
don't care
see
whether
him.
I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does. We
Because
appeared in
you
court on that
wrote this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It was not provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where is
you
that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Blackman versus Miller Vaughn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who is Mr. Miller?
I am.
Would you sit down, Mr. Vaughn, please? And is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Mr. Blackman, this is an interesting case. I don't think I've ever tried one like this before. You knew the defendant.
I met him first time at our wedding, actually. He was a friend of a guest.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when you and the defendant arranged to have a young woman from the Philippines, who was, I believe, a cousin of your wife's,
Distant cousin, yes.
come to New York for the purposes of marrying him.
Yes, ma'am.
She came to the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't marry her.
No, ma'am, he did not.
And you want him to pay for all of the expenses that you incurred, which you say that he had agreed to pay. In addition, at some point, a check was given to you for $1,500, and then payment was stopped on that check, but that check was written by Mr. Vaughn at the defendant's request. So that's why he is a co-defendant. But he's really a nominal co-defendant. Okay, so when was your wedding, and when did you meet the defendant?
In February of '99, the defendant was at our wedding. A few days later, he came to a Valentine's dance party, and that's where I spoke to him about our site, FilipinoGirlsTours.com. I said,
No. Speak slowly, because we're missing. You had a website?
Yes, ma'am, a small business. I met my wife through Pen Pal Club, and when she came over, she goes, I have many friends that would like to come too, so we put up a free Pen Pal site where people could get free addresses and phone numbers, stuff like that, and correspond. I don't know if he first saw that site, or I really don't know, but he came to our wedding, and then at the party he was there. And I said, well, you know, we do have a cousin of hers that's real cute on our site. Would you like to meet her? And he said, well, I'd be interested. So I gave him the contact information, the address, the phone number. She did not have email at the time. And from there, it progressed. They got to know each other well.
They got to know each other via mail?
Mail and phone, yes.
And
many phone calls. Okay. And he went over there on his own.
He went to the Philippines?
Yes.
And visited, that is correct. When did you go to the Philippines, sir?
It was April or May. I don't remember exactly what the date was.
Of 1999?
Yes.
Okay. And you went and you met this young lady? Go ahead.
Yes, when he returned, he relayed to me how happy he was, how he would treat her so nicely, that he really loved her. And he was very frustrated that they were never left alone this whole time. And in the Philippines, most girls are very chaperoned. This particular woman had never dated really in her life. Very, very sheltered. And I helped him with his paperwork to bring her over, because we had just started our site and I wanted to get more experience in the fiancé visa part and what have you, so I did all his paperwork for him.
What's a fiancé visa?
In order to bring a girlfriend, fiancé, to the United States from another country, you must file paperwork with our government saying that you met her prove that you met her and that it's a legitimate relationship and you want to marry her. And you bring her over, you do all this
Do you
paperwork.
have a copy of that application?
I do not have a copy of his per se.
I need a copy of his.
I do not. I have the form, but I have all the financial responsibility forms that he signed.
Can I see that?
Yes, ma'am. Saying that he would be responsible for her as long as she was here.
Okay.
I've highlighted the...
Okay, and you signed this financial affidavit, sir, on the 31st of August, 1999. Is that right?
I'd have to see it.
Sure.
Yes.
Good. So you signed a financial affidavit in August of 1999 agreeing to be financially responsible for this young lady when she came to this country.
Right. It said that I would be responsible so that she wouldn't be a burden upon our state.
That's correct, but that's only one of the affidavits that you signed. That's why I read the second one very carefully, which is, the first one says that you agree that she will never become a public charge while she's here. But the second affidavit that you signed, sir, says that a plaintiff may seek specific performance of my support obligation, and you acknowledge that any federal, state, local, or private agency that pays any means-tested public benefit or benefit on behalf of the sponsored immigrants has standing to sue you to meet my financial obligations. Okay, I got it. Now, when did the young lady come here?
She arrived on Friday, the 28th or 29th of January, I believe. The wife and I actually picked her up at the airport because the defendant said he could not get off work to pick her up. So we drove to Atlanta from Asheville, a considerable distance, picked her up, brought her that evening, left him at his apartment, where I even helped him move to. That night, they were alone. It was Super Bowl weekend. That Sunday, they came over. The girl was very, very upset with herself, what have you. Mr. Miller had talked her into giving up something very precious to her, which was her virginity, which is something these girls really hold proper to them, because he had spent so much money to bring her here and so much effort. She figured, well, he's going to marry me, it's okay. The way things worked out, she found out she did not know we had loaned him the money to bring her here, because that wasn't...
Now, tell me about that loan.
Mr. Miller was in the process of moving, and I had gotten to know him a little bit, doing his paperwork for him and what have you, and he seemed to be a very nice fellow. So I helped him move, brought his washing machines over to my house to store, because he didn't have a place to put them, things like that. After he moved, we picked up the girl, brought her to his house and what have you.
Tell me about the money.
Oh, the money. During this move, he's saying he had put deposits down for this, for the phone, for the apartment and everything, and he was very low on money. And I figured the girl's a cousin of my wife, so I said, would you like to have a loan to bring her here? I could loan you the money for the plane ticket as long as it did not take too long to pay me back. And he said, oh, I could pay you back in 90 days, no problem. I just started a new job.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket itself was, I don't know, he sent the money to her. I gave him $675 cash.
Is that correct? That he gave you $675 in cash?
No.
He never gave you any money?
No.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's in dispute. $675 in cash you gave him.
Yes, ma'am, and I even asked my wife if I could take it out of our savings account. She's a joint member of that account, and she said yes, because it was for her cousin. That'd be fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had loaned him the money. I picked him up the day before she was to arrive. He called me and said, I can't get off work. Could you please pick her up? I said, sure, I'd be glad to. We went down, picked her up, brought her to the apartment. That weekend followed.
Okay, then you told me about the problem.
Right.
When she came to your house. All right.
Right.
Did he ever tell you that this wasn't going to work out?
The first indication I had of any problem was that Thursday, he did not show up one night. He kept on showing up later each night, coming home, and Wednesday night he didn't show up at all. Thursday morning the girl called me, I picked her up, brought her home. That Thursday evening, he called me, he didn't have keys to get into the apartment. He said, oh, I had to spend all night in the hospital with my son last night, and he gave me this story. His son was real sick, and he stayed there, and so I met him at the apartment and told him how badly she was hurt. And he says, well, I love her, this is not going to happen. Let me get cleaned up, I'll come over. That was the last I saw him in person until our criminal court trial came up. He called me the next day and said...
What criminal court trial?
For the $1,500 check.
Oh, okay.
It was dismissed due to, it was a post-dated check.
Okay.
North Carolina laws.
When for the first time, I asked you, did he tell you that this was not going to work out?
He called me on the phone that week, I believe it was that Thursday evening, and said, I'm not going to marry her. And I said, well, why? And he says, well, that's personal, I'm not going to tell you. I've got to go out of town this following weekend. When I get back, I'll get with you. And he never did call back. Mr. Vaughn called me and said that he had a check that he had written to cover her expenses for her plane ticket, my loan, a small amount of living expenses until she went home, and I was to pick the check up at the apartment. Well, we didn't have a key. We couldn't get in.
Well, you must have said something to him about money. You owe me some money. You owe me the money that I gave you, $675,
Actually,
and the
on that-
return, and her return flight as well.
Right. Yeah, it was actually him that volunteered the money at first to pay for her plane ticket home, because he knows this is a responsibility that he signed, that he is responsible for this woman, and if they do not get married after 90 days, he has to return her. It's an agreement he's made with the U.S. government.
Okay.
So he was aware of his obligation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carl and Lori Jen Blackman say former friend Chris Miller borrowed money to fly in his girlfriend from the Philippines. Chris says there was no agreement to pay the money back.
When did she go back to the Philippines?
It wasn't until September.
Why not?
Because, well, she was so ashamed of herself, and in the Philippines, and I do have evidence from doctors that treat women in the Philippines.
I'm not interested in that because it's really not germane. She's not here. She was, for emotional reasons, she didn't go back.
Right, and plus the check bounced. We could not get it to cover. 5 times I took it, it would not. Each time I took it to the bank itself, they said, I'm sorry, there's not enough funds, and then I ran it through my bank to have it stamped.
But that was $1,500, and that would have covered her return flight to the Philippines.
And my loan of...
And your loan to him.
Yes, ma'am, and a small amount of living expenses for a week or two.
So the whole thing was $1,500. So how did $1,500 become $5,000 that you're suing him for?
Well, we never could cash the check. It was never any good. So she stayed with us. She was real ashamed and didn't want to return home, and she did not have the money to return home because the check was canceled. And I had told Mr. Vaughn about a week after the check, when I first tried to cash it, I said, well, why isn't there any money there? And he said, well, my wife wrote a check. It'll be good in a couple days. And I said, well, yeah, I think Cheryl may be staying a while anyways because she's very afraid about going home.
Okay. I got it. So the rest of this money, $3,500, is for her living expenses.
Basically, and attorney's fees, and we had to buy her clothes. She had no clothing other than summer clothing, and this was middle of winter, so we had to buy her clothing.
Well, she should have gone home immediately.
With what money?
With the money that you would have lent her and then sued them for the $1,500 and it would have been over with.
I don't have thousands of dollars in the bank.
This isn't fair. We're not talking thousands. We're talking about a return airplane ticket.
But it was Mr. Miller's responsibility to return her.
How much was the return air ticket?
When I returned her, it was $640, and it was during the low time of year. In January, it's a high travel time. It could be as much as $1,000 or more.
All right, Mr. Miller, let's hear it.
Well, went over there, met her, did all the paperwork and everything to bring her over here.
Paperwork.
Then in December, when I talked to her, I told her, I said, you know, I don't think it's going to work.
You mean December before she got here?
Right.
Why did you tell her that in December?
Well, I had met my wife. We had dated, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago. And we had met, and we started seeing each other. And that's when I told her, I told Cheryl, I said, you know, it's just not going to work.
So you told the young lady that you didn't think it was going to work out. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
She came here. Carl picked her up at the airport.
Well, when you told her in December that it wasn't going to work out, she hadn't been here yet. Why didn't you cancel these papers?
I didn't know what, she was already in Manila. I didn't know what to do.
You mean she had traveled to Manila in order to come here?
Yeah, you have to go to Manila. You have to go to the embassy in order to come to the United States.
The interview
so she had already done the legwork there and was on her way here, and they had been using your papers to process her.
Right.
Okay. So you knew she was going to come?
Right.
In January.
Well, I told her not to come. She came anyway. Carl brought her to the apartment. I told her, I said, look, you know, it's just not going to work out. I think it was like two or three nights I stayed there, and I think that was it.
Why did you have
when
sex?
Don't speak. Mr. Miller, when she stayed at your apartment for 2 or 3 nights, did you share a room together?
Yes.
Why?
Because there's only bed. I didn't have a couch or anything. I just moved.
So you shared a bed together?
Yes.
While he was living with another girl.
Mr. Blackman, he was very quiet. You have to be very quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
What arrangements did you make to get her a return ticket to go home?
When me and her had split up, or she had left, went to Carl's house.
That was just a few days later.
Right. Carl had went around telling everybody that he was going to have me for abandonment, had me put in prison, $12,000 fine.
Prove it.
Mr. Blackman,
know if he can
this
or
is
not.
the last time I say that to you, sir. The next time I dismiss your case. Do you understand? I control it here. It goes in an order. You then him, then if I have any questions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you used to controlling things?
Not really.
Uh-huh. Does your husband like to control things?
No. She wears the pants.
What?
She wears the pants.
I somehow doubt that. Go ahead.
So once I heard what he was trying to do, I didn't know what to do, so I called my congressman. They put me in touch with liaisons. I told her what was going on. I said, you know, I need to stop the fiancé visa. She said, okay. Well, I talked to Carl. He said, look, he said, you pay $1,500. It'll all be said and done. It'll be over with. I said, okay, fine. It'll be done. I'd closed out my account. Mark Bond, he was a good friend of mine. I said, you mind writing a check? I said, here's the money. He said, no, no problem. Gave him $1,500. Well, Carl Blackman, in the meantime, had called and told her he was going to sue me, that I was going to prison, that on the documentation it says that I am liable for everything. Well, told him no, he's not. He offered to give you the money to send her back. You told him no. You've told me no, that you're not going to send her back, and there's nothing you can do to him. So then that's when he tried to go to court, get us on a criminal offense, and then we're here.
So that you stopped payment on the check that you had given him?
Yes.
That's what happened?
Yes.
But you understand that you owe him this money?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, you do. And for no other reason, Mr. Miller, than because of your actions, this young lady traveled from the Philippines to the United States. Now, you may have told her a week or two before she got on that plane, while she had traveled to Manila, according to you, to begin this process, that it wasn't going to work out. And if it wasn't going to work out, then what you do when Mr. Blackman brings her to your home is put her in the car and you say, I'm bringing you back to Mr. Blackman's house. I told you this wasn't going to work out. You don't take her to your bed for a few nights and then return her. Bad sportsmanship. Not moral conduct. You don't do a test run with somebody that you know is not going to be a permanent part of your life, especially under the circumstances where you met her in the Philippines, which was on her turf. According to what the plaintiff tells me, which I believe, one of the frustrations that you had is that you were not alone very much because of her strict upbringing in her family. So she comes to a strange place, she comes to a strange home, she comes to a person that she's known for, what, a week or two? Is that all you knew her? I mean, other than the mail and the telephone calls.
I was over there about four or 5 days.
So it was less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
And she's vulnerable because she's here. She doesn't know anybody. I don't know how her English is, but she's certainly very vulnerable. And you took advantage of that. Bad show. And I can understand when Mr. Blackman says that there was an embarrassment that she had in going home right away. And she had to emotionally prepare herself to go home because she was going home different from the way she came. How old was she?
25.
And how old are you?
I just turned 35.
And you have a child.
Yes.
I see that from here. Were you married before?
Yes.
Once before?
Twice.
So you've been around the flagpole a couple of times,
I
as
guess you could
opposed
say
to this
that.
young lady.
I don't know if she had or hadn't. I would say not.
The only other expense that I haven't addressed is your attorney's fees. Now, you said you had attorney's fees.
Yes, we tried to change her visa so she could stay here without going
That's
home.
not his problem.
Yes.
That's your problem. That's her cousin. If you tried to change her visa,
Yes, ma'am.
then you're doing that out of the goodness of your heart. That has nothing to do with his relationship with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly believe that you are entitled to be reimbursed for certain of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly for the $1,500 plus your airfare, I believe that you did provide airfare both ways for this young lady. And I believe that she probably needed a period of adjustment before she went back.
Yes, ma'am.
Not she came 1 week and she goes back the next. Kind of embarrassing. But I would say, Mr. Blackman, that she's not here. I cannot inquire of her. But I would say a month or so should have been sufficient time for her to get over this and to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Did she stay with you the entire time?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. So on your claim, Mr. Blackman, I'm awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
The $1,500 that he was supposed to have given you, plus $1,000 a month for the month that I believe would have been sufficient time for her to prepare herself to go home. So on your claim, sir, I am awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
Didn't do the right thing, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out of Moore versus Optional. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Moore, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you by biting you.
Correct.
After some sort of an altercation at a bar.
Yes.
So first tell me when this occurred.
This incident occurred on June 15th of 2000, between 2:15 in the morning.
Okay, where had you been earlier that evening?
I was at a local tavern very close to my house. I had just gone in and was drinking a few beers when...
What time had you arrived there?
Between 10 and 10:30, I would say, that night.
Okay, go ahead.
The defendants came in and
The defendant came in. Was she with other people? You said they came in.
It was Tina Hall and Sarah Upsall.
Had you known them from before that evening?
I had not known Sarah. I had known Tina because I've had some previous problems with her in the past.
What time did they come in?
About 2 o'clock. I know that it was definitely after 2 o'clock because the bartender wouldn't serve them because she had already called last call. So they were not allowed any beverages. And that's in essence what the start fighted over was, because Tina just walked up to my spot at the bar while I was shooting pool and stole my beer and started drinking my beer. And
your glass, shh, your glass of beer?
It was a mini pitcher.
So you saw Tina, that's this young lady.
I saw both of them walk up. Tina sat in the chair that I actually was sitting in, and I said, "Hey, you're drinking my beer." And
you said to Tina?
I said to Tina, and she turned around and looked at me, and she said, "No, I'm not. Shut up." And one of the persons that was giving me a ride home had said, "Hey, look, you know what? This girl's a troublemaker. Let's just get out of here." I set my pull stick down, and we exited the bar.
Did you have a car that evening?
I did.
And were you driving?
No.
Who was driving?
I was getting a ride home from an older gentleman who was a friend of my mother's, and also another gentleman around the same age as me.
So why didn't you drive home?
Because I felt like I was too drunk. I shouldn't be driving.
Okay, so you got a ride home. That's smart.
Yes.
And what happened?
We exited the front door and began walking towards the parking lot. The defendants came out and were yelling and screaming that they wanted to beat me up, we're going to kick your butt, you told on us. What had happened, I found out the next day from the bar owner, was that they were caught drinking the beer and were kicked out and asked to leave because they were not served. So just at the time as they were making their way out of the front exit, the other man that was with us was making his way out of the rear exit, and they kind of met. They were yelling and screaming at him, "Where is she? We want to beat her up. We're going to take care of this right now."
You heard them?
I heard them. I was just getting into the car at that point. He walked in and got into the vehicle we were riding in and shut the door, and he rolled the window down in an effort, I guess, to kind of get the last word in or whatever.
To say something stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Sarah just hit him dead in the face. And
that is... Shh. No way. Wait a second. Go ahead.
From there, we couldn't believe it, and I was telling the driver, just go, take off, and they were either punching or kicking on the windows of the car, trying to break the windows.
Whatever.
We exited through an alley that was just off of the parking lot, and by the time that we turned onto the street, they were in their vehicle already following us.
Did you go home? You being dropped off?
I did not go home because I didn't want these girls to know where I lived, and I didn't want to have a fight with them. And they chased us around town for a good 15 to 20 minutes.
But they came a time when you did go home?
Yes.
Now what happened when you got home? Because that's where this incident took place.
Well, the whole time that they were chasing us, they were yelling and screaming things out of the windows and stuff. And when we pulled up in front of my house, they, of course, came to a dead stop behind us. And the male on the passenger side, I was sitting in the middle of the front seat, he told me, "Just wait in the car, and I'll take care of these girls. We'll get rid of them." Both of the girls just kind of flew out of their vehicle and immediately started attacking him, beating on him, on his head and his face, and he did this kind of like football maneuver, I would call it, and he knocked them both down, and they got up, continued to beat on him. At one point he actually...
I don't want to hear from you yet.
She is lying.
Did you hear what I said? I don't want to hear from you yet.
But she is just...
I don't want to hear from you yet.
I know.
I don't like to raise my voice. You will have an opportunity to answer all of my questions.
Okay. At one point, he actually had taken Tina by the shoulders and walked her to the vehicle, sat her in the seat, shut the door, and was about to do the same to Sarah. Tina got back out. They continued to beat on him. And that's when I made the stupid decision to get out of the car because I thought I was going to try to help stop it. And as soon as I got out of the car and I shut the door, Sarah was already approaching me. And I did not hesitate, and I began to beat her up. I had lost my temper by that point.
And what happened?
We had a knockdown, drag out, rolling on the ground, beating each other fight, and what it came down to was I was getting the better of her, and she bit my arm to get away from me. At that point, the fight broke up, and I started to walk up to get on my front porch to go in my house. Just as soon as I turned my back to get on my porch, she flew down the stairs, told me to look out. They were both closing in on me, trying to continue the fight. And Sarah and I did continue again for probably another 5 minutes fighting.
Okay, so am I correct, Miss Moore, that, I want you to answer my questions honestly, that when you got out of the car and the defendant came and, as you said, rushed you, you struck her first?
Yes, I did.
And that started the brawl?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Opsel, you're at the bar.
Yes.
There's some words passed between you.
First of all, I did not even talk to Cindy. I was talking with the bartender.
Okay.
I did not drink her beer.
Okay. There was some words passed. Now, what I want to know is, you left at approximately the same time as the plaintiff left.
Yes.
Who was driving?
I was.
You were sitting in the passenger seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live in relation to the plaintiff?
I live in Wisconsin. It's over the bridge from her.
So nowhere near the plaintiff?
No.
What were you doing at her house?
I thought we were invited to an after-hours party.
Well, explain that to me. Shh. Explain that to me.
We were outside the tavern, and I thought Tina got invited because she knew them to this after party.
Well, let's get a hold of Tina. Tina, come up and stand up here. Who invited you to a party?
I don't know that I was even invited. We were just
I thought she was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cindy Moore says, after an argument in a bar, Sarah Opsel followed her home. Cindy claims a fight ensued, and Sarah bit her on the arm.
You didn't know about any party?
No, ma'am.
So now, what made you think you were invited to a party?
Because Tina knew these two, the plaintiff.
What I'm asking you, madam, is what made you think, if Tina didn't know anything about a party, what made you think that you were going to a party?
Because we got in the vehicle and we were following them.
Well, my question is, what made you follow them?
Because I thought we were invited to the party.
What telepathic message had you received that you were invited to a party?
Because she said follow them.
Tina said?
Yeah.
Even she's laughing at you.
She's not laughing.
Even she's laughing
No,
at you.
No, she's not.
Tina said follow them. And
Yes.
that's all she said to you. Follow them. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. You are just... You're trying to put words in my mouth.
No, I'm not. I want to know what you were doing. You live in a different state from the plaintiff.
Yes.
In a different state. There were clearly words exchanged, not necessarily between you and the plaintiff, but perhaps between Tina and the plaintiff outside the bar. You get into your car. Instead of going home at 2:30 in the morning, you follow the car around town for a while because Tina told you to follow them. And you assumed it was to go to a party.
Yes.
Okay. You had no business being there.
Being where?
At her house.
I wasn't at her house.
Now, yes, you were. You were at her house. Now, once at her house, Tina, you tell me what happened when you pulled up in front of her house.
When we got to her house, we all exited the vehicles.
Who's all?
Sarah, myself, Cindy, and her boyfriend or friend at the time. We were having words. I don't know.
You mean as soon as you got out of the car, there started to be an altercation?
Yes. And
not a party. Not a party.
Apparently
not at the time.
Apparently not.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
And her friend came up to me and literally did take me by the shoulders, but he didn't put me in the vehicle. He slammed me up against the vehicle. And then She seen that this was happening, so Sarah came over by me and asked him not to do that. You don't do that. And then somewhere along the line, that's when Cindy came over to her and bit her. There was no slapping. There was no punching, no rolling around, none of that.
Who bit whom?
Sarah did bite Cindy, but Cindy was coming at her.
Self-defense.
Self-defense. Not in my book. You wouldn't have been there to have to defend yourself if you hadn't followed them home looking for a fight.
I wasn't looking for a fight.
Oh, yes,
Judge.
you were.
No, I was
looking
not.
for a fight.
I was
not looking for a party, looking for a fight.
Why would
Where
I
did she
look
bite
for
you?
a fight?
I have no idea, madam. I have no idea why you're out 2:30 in the morning looking for a drink, period. And I have no idea why, if you live in one state, you followed her home to her house, which is in another. I'm speaking, which is in
right
another
over
state.
The bridge. It is not another state to state.
I lived in Michigan. She lived in Wisconsin.
Just a minute. That's another state. I'm not really good at geography,
You don't
but one state
understand.
is Michigan, one state is Wisconsin. I don't care if it's just over a bridge. It's not your house.
I know
You
it's not
followed
my
her to her house. And you followed her to your house because she said, follow him. You said, oh, I guess she means follow. We're going to have a party with all these people who we didn't get
I wasn't
along
looking
with at
for
the
a
tavern.
fight.
All right. Madam, I want you to step up here and I want to see where she bit you.
I don't even know Cindy to look for a fight.
That's a good bite. Did you see a doctor?
I did see a doctor. I have my medical reports here.
Can I see it?
as well as photographs that documented what the injury was like.
Okay.
Did you make a police report about this?
The police were called by a neighbor at that time. I tried very hard to get the report before I came. I wasn't able to do so, and the police treated it very nonchalantly. The police told me that Sarah had came in earlier, had phoned and said that I beat her up, and they just didn't really take the case
I never
very
even talked
seriously
to
at all.
Cop about that.
Yes.
What the police actually had said that night was that they weren't there to witness anything, and there were two sides to the story, as is now. And
No, there's only one side to the story.
well,
Madam,
at
there's
that
only
point,
one side to the story. If you weren't...
There are
if you-
always two sides to every story.
No, that's what a court is for.
Exactly.
That's what a court is for. And but for the fact that you and your friend followed her to her house, this incident would not have happened. And you and I both know that you weren't following her to her house to go to a party. You were following her to her house because there was bad blood. When that started, I haven't a clue. But you precipitated this because they were on their way home. You weren't on your way home. You were on your way looking for trouble, and you found it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She lied. If it weren't for Tina, none of this would have ever happened.
Right. She did not lie.
She did.
No, she
You
didn't.
weren't
You
even
guys
there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Durham versus Creeks, step forward, please.
18-year-old baseball player Justin Durham is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old waitress Kara Creech, for the return of an engagement ring. Kara is countersuing for the return of her class ring.
Mr. Durham, you and the defendant were engaged to be married. It didn't work out. You want the engagement ring back.
That's right.
Ms. Creech says that you have some property of hers, you have a class ring, and there are some other expenses that she believes that are your responsibility as a result of this failed wedding. She is counterclaiming. She said you didn't pay for these rings yourself. There was some down payment made by her mother. So when did you become engaged?
Well, it was about 4 months ago.
Look at me. Not
I had asked her mom to help me with $100 to make the down payment on the ring. So she did. With no more than 3 days later, I gave her a crisp $100 bill.
Did he give you back the $100?
Yes, he just didn't pay the 10. I gave him 110, that was all.
Fine, so that's a wash. So that's taken care of. So other than the down payment, initially, you paid for the ring?
Right.
So 4 months ago, are you laughing? Is this funny?
No.
4 months ago, you became engaged. And for how long were you engaged?
For about five months.
1 month.
Just a second. Mr. Durham, I'm not very good at math. If you became engaged 4 months ago and you were engaged for 5 months, then we're talking about Back to the Future. Do you understand? How long were you engaged?
About a month and a half.
And what happened?
She cheated on me.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so as a result of that, you say the engagement was broken.
Right.
You broke the engagement.
No, she did.
Can I see the ring, please? Who has the receipt for the ring?
I do.
I want to.
Can I see both, please? How much did you pay for this ring?
$549.
No. You have a ring and then there's a bridal set.
I have the other piece. It was a set. It wasn't a separate piece.
Well, it's billed separately, sir. One says $371 and the other item was $128. So here we have the engagement ring. Now, is the engagement ring $371? Let's get it together, please. I mean, this is not, I've got a secret. Would you answer me?
Yes.
Guess what?
The ring was $400.
$371.
$371, sorry.
Where's the other piece of this, the $128 set? You have that?
Right.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Very nice. And I see it's a nice little set because one of these things fits in here like this. I don't know how it does it. I'm never very good at that. There you go. Very pretty. Okay. So here's this piece back. Now, he gets them both. Engagement ring. Engagement's off. Engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. No more engagement. He gets the ring back. Return them. Sell them. Contemplate them. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Do you have her class ring?
Yes, I do.
Where is it? Perfect. Look how easy this is going to be. It's going to be a piece of cake. Class ring. He gets the receipts. She gets the class ring.
Got it.
Perfect. Now she's got a class ring back. Now, miscellaneous wedding expenses that you think he should pay for. You say you broke off this engagement.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Because I have a 1-year-old son, and I am not putting what he does around my son. He came to my house one night, and he was high, and he was drunk.
Okay. And you thought it was a bad idea.
Yes.
So you broke off the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a wedding dress and some little wedding expenses.
Yes.
Then you made a good choice. You pay for those. You should have thought twice about becoming engaged to somebody that you knew for a relatively short period of time. Right?
Yes.
So consider yourself very lucky. Dye your engagement dress another color. Yellow. Use it again. And if he was the wrong person for you, it's a very cheap price. Right?
Yes.
Good luck. Everybody's got their property back? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 202 on the calendar in the matter of Longs versus Scroggins Body. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Longs,
Yeah.
you were injured when a plate glass window was broken and shattered into your car, and you were severely injured, according to your complaint. You had glass all over you, as well as damage to the car, which was not a serious one, and your pet that was in the car was also severely cut. And it is your claim that the defendant's son is responsible for that, and you want him to pay your medical bills, pain and suffering, damage to the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So why don't you tell me where this happened?
Okay, my husband, my younger brother, my dog and I were going to a local fast food restaurant, and we pulled up into the drive-thru and made our order. We pulled around to the window.
Who was driving?
I was driving. And to be honest about it, I didn't know at the time that it was a window. I didn't know if it was a gun. I didn't know at the time what it was.
Tell me what you felt.
Just a million needles just going into my whole body. I mean, it's an indescribable pain. It was just like really, really bad.
After you felt this pain, did you have a consciousness to look around and see what had happened?
When it happened, I had started screaming, and my foot had come off the brake, which had caused my car to roll forward. My husband threw the car up into park and got out of the car and went into the building.
Is your husband here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Could you step up, please?
I looked down in my lap, and my whole lap was covered with glass that was about that thick. I was afraid to get out of the car because I was afraid from the way I was driving that it would go in between my legs and cut me worse than what it had.
What happened next?
I heard my husband yelling, and I went to get out of the car, and the glass started scraping the insides of my leg. And I went up to the window and I started, to the drive-through window, and I started screaming for my husband to call an ambulance because there was blood.
You were bleeding?
Yes. And I was telling Isaiah to get out of the car, to get out of the car. I wanted to see if he was okay. He was okay, he wasn't bleeding. At that time, my dog went like this and put his paws up on the side of my car. And when he did, Your Honor, my dog's paw was all but completely cut off.
Is he okay?
No.
Were they able to save his paw?
Yes. We couldn't let him, look at it or get anything on it. And they give him antibiotics.
But he's home with you?
No, ma'am.
Why?
My dog was so protective over me that he would not let nobody else come near me other than my husband. And my dog attacked a man at my husband's job. And so therefore, we either had to get rid of him or they had to put him to sleep.
So what did you do?
My mother-in-law has him. She has a bigger house than what we do, but he has to stay on a chain.
Okay. So what happened?
It was a little incident at work. It was over a female. Me and the guy got into it.
You and a co-worker got into an argument over a girl?
Yeah, he started.
And what happened when you got into the argument with the co-worker?
Well, apparently our boss separated us. She told me to go home. I went home. I was kind of heated at the time, and I was telling my mom what was going on. So me and my mom went up there.
Okay. Now, so what did you tell your mom? That you got into an argument with this co-worker? Was it over a girl that you knew?
Basically, yes, ma'am. It was his girlfriend.
It was his girlfriend. Had you made advances to this girl, or did he think you had made advances to this girl?
Yes, ma'am.
And what had he said to you during the course of this original argument, before you went home to your mother?
Well, we go get into it, no.
No, I don't know. I don't know what means get into it. Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He said he's gonna kick my, and I told him, man, it's whatever.
You told him whatever?
Yeah.
Now your boss sends you home.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he comes home and he talks to you.
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you?
He told me that him and this boy had an argument.
Did he tell you what it was about?
He said it was over some girl.
Did you ask him any specifics?
I asked him, what kind of argument that y'all was in. And he just said, Mama, it was over girl. He keep messing with me and stuff like that. I said, well, we'll go back to the restaurant. We're going to talk to the young man and the manager and you. We're going to get together to resolve this matter. When we get there, my son goes into the back.
Were you there?
Yes, ma'am, I was
there.
Were you?
No, just a second. Were you in the back with him?
I was in the back when they got to fighting, but when he went back there, no, ma'am.
When you went to the back of the restaurant, your mother was in the front of the restaurant. Who did you see in the back of the restaurant?
I seen him.
The boy?
Yeah.
And? Did you say anything to him?
No, I did.
Did he say anything to you?
He said, what's up now? And I just walked right past him. And I laughed at him like, man, whatever.
You walked past him, you laughed at him, and then where did you go from there?
I went to go to the manager.
Did you get to the manager?
No, because by the time I got to the fry, he had hit me from behind. And he pushed me, tried to run me through the glass, and I caught myself.
Yes?
So I'm still facing him. By the time I brought myself back out, I didn't know she was there.
So far, you didn't break the window?
Yes, I did. My back went through the window.
How could you be face to face, sir, if he pushed you from behind?
See, just...
So he hit you from behind, but you didn't go into the window.
No, he hit me, and then when I turned around, he rushed me. He ran me into the window.
Uh-huh.
When he did that, I had, got me a little brace, and my back went through the window, but I came back out the window.
Okay. Now, Ms. Scroggins.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to the workplace with your son to have a discussion with a manager.
Yes, ma'am.
So, tell me why you didn't say to your son, you stay out here, I'm going to speak to the manager.
Before I can tell him that, he had already went to the back.
How did you get to the store?
I don't live too far from there.
Did you walk or drive?
Walk.
Shh.
I drove.
Well, you drove, but your son walked. Did he walk behind the car or next to the car? How did that work? He said he walked. You said you drove. So did he jog along aside the car?
No, he was in the car with me.
All right. Did you discuss with your son how you were going to handle this situation?
Yes, I did.
And what did you tell him?
I told him we was going to talk to the manager to resolve this problem because he has to have a job. That's exactly what I told him.
Fine. Did you tell him we're going to go in together and speak to the manager?
We went in together.
But then he left you.
While I was standing at the counter,
Yeah?
he went behind to where the manager and stuff.
No, he went behind where the boy was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Long says she was in a fast food drive-thru when worker Paul Body broke the restaurant's window during a fight. Shirley says the shattered glass injured her and her dog.
Where's the other boy?
He is currently in jail.
For what?
I have no idea. I had to put cases against both of them, and the one was never signed because he is currently in Montgomery County Jail.
Okay. Can I see your bills, please? You still have any embedded glass in your body?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where?
I have it coming out of my left ear. It's in my head still.
You have any photographs?
It had went down into my breast, Your Honor, and it had went up underneath of them.
Okay. I don't have to see any more bills.
Okay.
Miss Scroggins.
Yes, ma'am.
You handled this matter all wrong. If your son comes home and says to you he's having some trouble with the guy where he's working, and the trouble started because of him, and if you want to resolve the situation, then you pick up the phone and you call the restaurant, you get the manager on the phone, and you say, we'd like to come over and have a discussion, all of us. I would like to be able to resolve this matter because my son really needs the job. And if at all possible, maybe we can resolve this dispute between the two boys. Does that sound intelligent?
Yes, ma'am.
Instead, right after the argument, when he was hot, because according to him, he was hot, he was angry, right? When he came home?
Yes, ma'am.
He was angry. You put him in the car and you drive over there because the situation was bad enough for the manager to send him home because he was a wise guy. And instead of saying to your son, you sit out here in one of these little tables, I'm going to find the manager, you let him go in the back where you knew the other guy was. Then the other fellow said to him, what are you doing here? He laughs at him, because that's what he just said. He laughed at him and he said to him, whatever. That's what you just told me.
So, okay, if somebody say they go kick my, then what I'm supposed to do?
Get another job. Go to another restaurant.
No, I got
It's not
rights
the
to
only
laugh.
fast food restaurant in town. And you don't mess around with somebody else's
You
girlfriend.
said anything about me messing around. I said, I know her. There's a difference from knowing and messing.
Then what you do is you sit down calmly in your mother's kitchen and say, maybe we can resolve this because I didn't do anything wrong. Let's call my boss and go over there sometime after work when nobody else is around, and maybe the boss will die and this other guy will sit down and I'll tell him it's all a misunderstanding. I didn't do anything with your girlfriend. So, is it both of their faults?
I think it is.
Sure, but the other guy's in jail, so he has to pay the whole thing. Because but for the fact that you drove him over there when he was hot and angry, and he went back there and tormented him a little bit, laughed at him. She got hurt. She's suing you for $3,000. It's nothing. She still got glass in her head. It's probably what you have up here. Solid glass. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't like the way that the guy had come out here and tried to fight with my husband after the court was over.
For him to come out and act like he did, I mean, he's just a kid.
It would have been different if it would have happened to him. If the glass would have gotten embedded into his back, he surely wouldn't have probably been out here threatening my husband if he would have felt what I was feeling.
Okay. Your Honor, this is cases number 385 and 386 on the calendar in the matter of Norris, La Lumiere versus Rapporteur.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Norris, this is your mother.
It is.
This is your boyfriend.
Yes.
You claim that your mother owes you for rent during the time she lived with you.
Yes.
When did your mother come to live with you?
Sometime early on mid-November. I'm
The
sorry.
questions are going to get harder.
I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous. Around mid-November last year of 2000.
And under what circumstances did she come to live with you?
Shortly before, less than 2 weeks, she'd been evicted from yet another apartment, and she called me very upset because she was stranded with no place to go. So again, I let her live with me.
And she had stayed with you before, I assume?
Yes, several times before. I've helped her.
What was the financial arrangement, if there was one?
That she would agree to pay $50 a week if she was responsible for her other expenses, her personal things, doing her own laundry. I have washer dryer. If she was going to take care of all that out of the house, then it would only be $50. I have 3 floors in my apartment. The 3rd floor, she had all of that for her. There was two rooms with full closets. She had, you know, a good amount of space.
And your mother agreed to pay you $50 a week?
Yes, at least.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you say that she did not pay you the $50 a week?
No, she was with us for around 10 months. During that time, we got at most $200 in total from my mother. Not only, that's not just cash, we got one payment in the form of a scratch ticket that she had won. And after a period of time, she just said right out that she wouldn't leave and she wasn't going to give us any money anymore either.
All right, let me hear you.
I moved in there on the 28th of October. We agreed on $50 a week. Mr. LaLumia told me at that time $50 a week would only allow me a room or the rooms. I wasn't allowed to use the phone, watch television, or eat any of the food in the house. I'm a tea drinker. I bought my own tea, sugar, and milk. I ate at the local pizza parlors and the little variety store at a cost of $80 to $90 a week to myself. I bought my own cigarettes and liquids outside of my tea, and they never bought any of my necessaries, and I wanted nothing of them, Judge Judy, at all.
I'm asking you about the $50 a week you're
I
supposed to pay.
paid them. I have, where I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was on unemployment when I moved in, I didn't ask Sherry for receipts, or I didn't give a receipt because she's my daughter. I have accounted for financially $1,150 that I did at different points give her altogether.
The only she paid was a $50 money order
And I do have
and
receipts from the
a scratch ticket and 3 receipts from the landlord. That is the only money that Miss Rabitor has ever given us in the time she has lived with us. She has been supplied with food. She has snuck down in the middle of the night, taken food up to her rooms. She has ravaged the house.
Judge Judy, I lived with my daughter and Mr. LaLumia for 10 months. Not once in the 10-month time did Sherry or Jim ever speak to me.
So why didn't you leave?
I tried to get jobs while I lived there. My daughter blackballed me out of jobs. People would call there, and Sherry would say nasty, dirty things about me to companies or places that I was trying to get employment. So I wasn't really working other than a $6 under-the-table job at 15 hours a week.
Did you live with your mother until you were how old?
15, I left home.
You were 15?
I was 15 when I left home because I had abusive parents. At 17 was the first time my mother stayed with me because she had been evicted at that time. She stayed with me for a short period of time when I was just a teenager. For all of these years, I have helped her. This is the 3rd time she's lived with me, at least. And every time it ends terribly.
Well, tell me how it
makes
ended.
me hesitant to help her any further, but I do, because she's my mother. I do. She's whispering things over here, being taunting.
Shh! Don't speak. How old are your children?
12 and 13.
And they live with you as well?
Yes.
Does your mother have, to the best of your knowledge, any particular problem that causes this eviction from one apartment to another apartment? Has she ever had any psychiatric treatment?
It's not just apartments that she continuously gets evicted from. She can't keep jobs either.
I'm asking you about any psychiatric disability.
Yes, when we were children, my brother and sister and I, when she was with her first husband, she was getting psychiatric treatment at the time. I was young. I didn't pay much attention. My brother actually had brought it to my attention recently. He reminded me of that. And at some point after she and my father split up, she and her first husband, he was not my biological father, she stopped getting any sort of, I don't know if she's on medication. She never has continued counseling or medications. And yes, I know that is greatly to do with why she can't hold jobs and she can't keep apartments, because she can't maintain relationships of any kind. I am her oldest child. She was a teenage mother when she had me. The last words my mother has spoken to me since she left my apartment was that she's regretted this since the day that I was born. And I am the only person that has helped her since I was 17 years old. She's from a family of 10. She has 9 brothers and sisters, and they won't help her. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They won't help her. I have helped her over and over again since I was a teenager myself. And this is what happened.
Miss Norris, let me ask you this question. I know you're upset.
Because it's my mother.
I gotcha.
She's supposed to be the mother, not me.
You know, sometimes roles change when you don't want them to.
But when it's hurtful over and over again, that doesn't bother me, taking care of her and help her. I knew she needed it, and I didn't have a problem doing it repeatedly. The only reason that she was even in the home is because she's my mother. I mean, Jim didn't know her anything. I didn't really either, but nobody
What
else would
happened,
help
Miss
her.
Norris? Listen, let you compose yourself for a minute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Norris says her mother, Paula Rabitor, owes for unpaid rent and living expenses. Sherry says she's been burned before by her mother.
Miss Norris, after 10 months, your mother left your house. Had you had a fight?
There had been a fight, well, not a fight. Oh, yeah, it was. Actually, it started over money. When she first came, she had no job. She'd just been fired from a job. Animosity was created when she was asked when she was going to start paying. She said she wanted to take time off, and it was just before the holidays last year. She had just gotten fired. She'd just gotten evicted. She said she needed time to recover. And with the holidays, I thought, okay, you know, it's not a problem. It'd be hard to find employment anyway right now. So that was not a problem. And then she did get a job while she was collecting unemployment from another state. That's another character point of hers, using different names.
Tell me what happened at the end, Miss Norris.
Okay, lots of stuff happened in between. She was a terrible example for my kids, my daughters. The things that she says and the way that she talks, my kids were just their chins hitting the floor with the vulgar language that she uses, not just profanity, just very sexually oriented things and just other totally bizarre things that she did. She had a small bird. She believed one of my children was responsible for killing it. So she nailed the dead little bird to her bedroom door with a note telling my daughters to stay out. That's how she is. And my children even think they said when they left the room, the bird was fine. They believe she did it herself. This is where her mental illness comes in.
You did it, made your kids think it was me.
This is where her mental illness comes in.
But I would hurt my birds, Judy.
She threw them out the window, all of them having been pets caged for 5 years. They can't fly. And she threw them out the window the day she was leaving. That's how much she loved her birds. I thought she loved them too. But when she did it, she made sure she came downstairs to tell me she had just thrown her birds out the window. 3 of them I never saw again. One of them hit the ground because she was so weak. I still have her. It was my neighbor that, this is her act.
Just a second.
Please,
Question,
understand
Miss
that.
Norris. Miss Norris.
I know, I'm missing the point. This is
Just-
getting distracting.
Okay, it's getting distracting. But let's get back
No, anyway, so the point, at the time that I needed to ask her to leave, she was not paying any money. I forgot exactly what happened, but I said, that's it. Jim asked her for me, because I had a hard time with this because of the whole situation.
All right, so it got difficult.
It got very difficult. She came to me, Jim had gone to her work one day and said, you need to leave. And she came home that Saturday from work and said, you know, well, she didn't listen to anything he said. She just thought he was the biggest jerk in the world. So she came to me, and she says, I never talked to her. She asked me, is it true? Do I need to leave? I said, yes. She said, why? I said, because, Ma, you've been here for nearly a year. You have accomplished nothing. So I just said, it's just not working. It's just not doing any good, Ma. I think you could stay here for another 5 years, and it would still be the same. You'd still be right where you are, not a dime in your pocket, nothing, and no job. So enough is enough, that's it. I said my children are leaving the long Labor Day weekend with their father. I didn't want them there when she was moving because I knew she would cause a scene. So I said that I would give her that 4-day weekend with my car to remove herself and her belongings. Well, that Saturday, she came back to me crying, saying, I need help, I know I need help, I've needed help for a long time, and that's what I spent all week doing. I wasn't at a job interview the other day, I was at the emergency room at the hospital because I know I need help, and can't you just let me have the time to get help, Sherry? And so I said, fine. And then I talked to Jim and I said, well, my mother's not moving out this weekend.
Ultimately, she moved out when?
The following week, even.
Okay.
She even had more time, and the day that she moved out, it was because we got legal papers in the mail. We received notices in the mail that she was taking us to court. Said, forget it. Forget it. Why are you doing this?
Why was she taking you to court?
It was a charge.
Threat to commit a crime. The threat was taking legal action to have her evicted from the apartment.
If that was necessary, because she said, I'm not leaving. I don't care what you say. He said, if I have to take you to court, I will.
So she filed a complaint of threat against you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you told her, you managed to find your way to the courthouse, now you can find yourself a new apartment.
That is correct.
Well,
okay.
He came home from work, and I actually, over the weekend, I said, my mother talked to me. I'm going to let her stay, because ultimately, for me, I have been dealing with this sort of thing for my children are petrified of her. Nobody will do it.
Okay, all right, stop.
I know you want a cathartic event.
If my mother can be normal one day, that's all I've wanted half my life, and if we have to bite our tongues and deal with it a little more, for her to get help, fine.
May never happen.
I stand there, I can't even believe it. I can't
May
even
never
believe
happen.
it.
All right, Miss
I don't
Rapporteur,
think so.
listen to me. You left your daughter's house.
Oh, could I?
Just a minute. Your claim is that she either kept or destroyed some of your property.
Yes, it is.
Before we get to your claim, I want to know why you filed a complaint against your daughter's boyfriend.
Mr. Leloup, Sherry, like I said, Sherry doesn't talk to me and hasn't talked to me for quite a while.
Just tell me what caused you to file the complaint against him.
He was threatening me.
What did he say?
He just kept threatening me to not touch anything, get out of the house, we don't want you here, leave this house, don't eat, don't watch TV, don't do anything, get out, get out, get out. So to me that was threatening because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances, well, it's not legally threatening.
But then I accused...
It's not legally threatening.
No, it wasn't legally threatening.
So then what did you go to the courts for?
It would have become threatening, Judge Judy, at a point.
No.
Yes,
You don't go to the
would've.
court. Listen,
You
don't go to a court if you think it might become, in some later date, threatening.
And Judge...
What?
I've already been in front of a judge 4 different times for this very same issue.
What issue?
Her belongings.
Her counterclaim.
Her counterclaim?
Yes.
And what happened with those cases?
Well, I first received a call from the clerk asking
Just a minute.
me...
Do you have...
Yeah,
I
we
have
have
legal documents.
We have
I wanna see
supporting
the order.
papers of all of this.
Can I see it, please?
And
Were you at any time ordered to return any of her property?
Yes, and I did.
Just a minute.
And
have
she
you
did
been
not
to court, Ms. Rapporteur,
take a thing
on the same issue as your counterclaim, the property?
Yes.
Then you had your day in court. I don't deal with that.
Your Honor, the judge wouldn't hear it. Sherry said that everything was her belongings, and he wouldn't hear it.
It wasn't supposed to be a housing court issue, and they told her that. But because it was presented in front of the housing court judge, he dealt with it.
And what was the order? Do you have the order?
To return her belongings
Can
to
I see
her,
it,
or
please?
I would be thrown in jail in 7 days. My issue is that it isn't all hers. I'm not giving her my belongings.
I can understand why no judge is going to hear this.
I pointed out that a lot of it was
A
petty.
bread box, house plants.
Those were returned to me.
Good.
I have the items that weren't returned.
She states that there's a 6-foot buffet that was hers, and it was not hers. It was never hers, and I have a statement from my landlord, who is an antique collector, stating
Just
that...
1 second.
For the
Just 1 second. Is the main thing you want this antique buffet?
No, Gina.
Well, what do you want?
I want to be able to get my belongings and go on with my life.
Listen to me.
I've worked
I'm
Judge Judy,
asking-
for 20 years for all of this.
Ms. Rapporteur,
I bought everything.
Clay,
Calm down.
listen to me very carefully. You had access to the house, and some of the stuff you removed, and some of the stuff she sent
no, I
over.
didn't.
Shh, I'm speaking. Some of the stuff, according to your papers and hers, she sent over to your other daughter-in-laws. I'm going to give you an opportunity to present to me a receipt for this buffet.
It was from my mother-in-law, Judge Judy. She gave me the buffet and a hutch to match.
I don't know that.
No, and the landlord doesn't know that either.
Listen to me, Ms. Rapporteur. The burden is on you to prove to me that anything on your list is your property. And the way to do that is with receipts.
Judge Judy, she kept all of my legal papers and all my legal documents. She kept all my phone numbers, address books, and everything. I have no proof of anything because
Well,
Sherry has it.
If you have no proof, then I can't help you. Do you have, Miss Norris, any documents in your house? I'm not talking about receipts or papers, but any documents in your house that your mother left there that you did not bring over to your sister-in-law's house?
Yes, I will give those back to her. Once all this court stuff is done,
No,
I will
want-
give them back
listen,
to her.
Listen to me. They're her documents. Anything that is her document is to be turned over to her within 5 days. And is there anything else? She said there was a computer. Did you return that to her?
Yes.
The computer was returned to you.
No hard drives or a power cord.
All right, good. That takes care of your counterclaim. Within 5 days, all of her papers, documents,
I have
etc.,
pictures of the items
be
that are on
returned to
that
her.
list.
Put it down.
Judge Judy?
This
What?
is my
For one-
Woonsocket
Put it down.
apartment, Judge Judy.
The apartment that she was evicted from in Woonsocket, that landlord kept most of her belongings.
No, he didn't,
Well, that
Sherry.
may be the pictures.
Those belongings come to me as soon as I have a place to bring them to. And I can get my
Miss Norris,
landlord to
listen
vow
to
to
me
that.
very carefully. Just taking care of the counterclaim.
Okay, but
I
we
want you to listen. Miss Rapiter, I honestly believe that you probably need some professional help. You are a grown woman, you are a mature woman, and clearly your life has been a series of ups and downs. Oh, she's leaving. Your mother is leaving. She probably could use a little bit of professional help. In any event, she was here, she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the court. Your mother acknowledges, based upon her own figures, that she owes you at least $1,050. I don't believe she paid you
No, she did not.
$1,150, but you don't have records. She doesn't have records. So I'm awarding you on your claim $1,050 for background. As far as her counterclaim is concerned, it is absolutely impossible to determine who owns 3 baskets. So just make sure she gets all of her documents back, and that will be done within 5 days. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Justice case.
The defendant was your former fiancée. She also worked with you in your business, is that right?
Yes, she did.
And you lived together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you came home one day and found that she left.
Yes.
She left taking certain of your property. You want back engagement jewelry that you gave to her, and you want her to pay some utility bills and return your property.
Correct, I
That's
do.
what the case is about. Defendant says she worked for you without pay for most of the 2 years that you were together. She doesn't owe you anything, and some of the jewelry she tossed in the river. Is that right?
I still have the jewelry.
All the jewelry?
All the jewelry.
Including the engagement ring?
Including the one engagement ring. The other ring was a Christmas present.
And what did you do with that?
It's at my house. I have
And
both of them.
where is the engagement ring?
That's at my house also.
Well, why didn't you bring it? That was in dispute.
I didn't want to bring it on the plane and I didn't want to lose it. I guess I didn't think
That's
that I
fine.
needed to bring that information
That's fine,
here.
but you know that that has to be returned to him.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I offered to do that. I offered to give everything back.
Now tell me about the engagement ring. Big, small, how much did you pay for it?
The engagement ring that I gave her was $1,000.
Describe it to me.
It's a half-carat diamond ring. I bought it from a guy I know up in
Okay, is that the engagement ring that you're talking about?
Yes, but he did not pay $1,000.
I don't care. He's not getting money. He's getting the engagement
Okay.
ring back, and you're
Yeah.
going to give it back to him.
Yep.
All right, so the engagement ring you get back. Now, let's talk about this engagement jewelry.
Okay. What it actually is, Your Honor, it ain't a engagement in jewelry. What she did is when she moved out of my home, I bought her a necklace. Okay, it was a 28-inch gold Duragold necklace. It was
It was a gold necklace. You bought her a gold necklace.
I bought her one and I bought myself one. She took both of them. Okay.
She took both?
Both.
No, she can't take yours. Did you take his necklace?
He never...
No, but did you
Okay,
take
yes.
his necklace?
Yes.
So far, he gets back his necklace. Listen to me very carefully.
Yep.
His necklace and the engagement ring.
Okay.
What else? How easy this is becoming. Easy. What else?
She also, at the time that she moved out, took my kids' bed.
Okay, so we finished with jewelry. Jewelry is disposed
Jewelry's
of.
done. She
All the other jewelry she has were gifts from you, so there's no engagement jewelry. You get back your necklace and the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
And she took your kid's bed?
My kids' bed. It was.
Kids' bed.
I got 2 kids. Yes, ma'am.
That's kids. That's 2.
Right.
Kids' would be a lot more than 2.
My kids' bed. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Took your kid's bed. Why'd you take his bed?
It was our bed that we bought together.
Did you sleep on it with him?
Yes.
So it wasn't for kids.
At the time, his kids was sleeping on it. He had another bed at our old house. which was a bunk bed that was for his kids. That bed that he is talking about, I purchased with my friend Renee. She was a witness. He gave me cash to go receive that for us together. We were together for 3 years. Everything was mutual, everything.
What kind of business were you in, sir?
I own my own towing business out of St. Paul,
Towing.
Minnesota. Yes,
And
ma'am.
what kind of work did the defendant do for you in the business?
She was doing anything she wanted to do. I mean, if
Anything
she
she wanted to do.
she did entering stuff into the computer once in a while. She'd answer telephones.
Okay.
You know, it was stuff like that. She'd
You
run,
work out of the house?
No, I own my own shop and everything. Yeah.
Did she go with you to the business?
Yeah, she'd be there at the business.
But I don't need any help.
Absolutely.
So she went with you to the business. So sometimes she would
Yes,
enter
she
things to
did.
the computer, sometimes she'd file, sometimes she
Yes,
would
she did.
answer the phone. So she worked. How much did you pay her every week?
It all depends
How
on...
much did you pay her every week?
Right away in the beginning, she didn't get a whole lot. She didn't. When she came to me with 2 bags of clothes, Your Honor.
How much did you pay her?
In the beginning, she probably got about $200 a week.
When you say the beginning, you mean the first 6 months or the first
Well,
year?
probably the first year she got about that.
Okay, so the first year you paid her $200 a week
Yes, ma'am.
in cash.
Yep, and she didn't have to pay no bills at the home. She didn't have to pay for a phone bill. She didn't have to pay for a vehicle. She didn't have to pay for nothing, Your Honor. She didn't have one payment.
Okay, so this $200 was just her spending money.
Exactly.
Fine. What else do you say she took of yours?
I got a list about this long,
Well,
but I'm not
I
worried.
want to tell you something. Cull it down.
Exactly. What I'm
really
looking
like
for,
this, not like this.
What I'm looking for is my kids' bed given back to me, and then I want my bills paid for at the home, okay, Your Honor?
What bills? I
The
thought you
bills-
told me she didn't pay any bills.
After we moved into our new home in March of this year,
I thought you told me she stayed with you and you took care of all the bills.
up until January 1st. January 1st of this last year, 2001, I sold my business, okay? January, February, March, April, May, I paid the bills at the home. June, she started paying bills at the home. June, July, August, September, October, November
Why
were
did she
her
start paying bills?
responsibilities. Excuse me?
Why did she start paying bills?
Because it was her responsibility. She had her own, she went and got a different job, you know, and the money was running out, you know, from me selling the business and stuff like that. It was her responsibility. I still paid the house payment.
Just a second. What kind of an arrangement did you make with her with regard to the bills, sir?
Well, she would pay the phone bill, she would pay the electric bill, she would pay the NSP and the gas bill, and you know, just little bills around the house. I mean, they weren't like the house payment or anything else
Well,
like
the house
that.
is the house in both your names or just in your name?
It was in my name.
Why would you want to make a house payment that's in your name?
Why would she drive a car that wasn't hers?
I mean, you must have given her permission.
Well, exactly.
Okay. Did you make an agreement with him to pay certain of the bills?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay those bills?
No, I didn't. At the time when I moved out, he had told me specifically that I did not need to pay no bills because I was not living there. So
Well, just
I didn't
a minute.
pay them.
For how long hadn't you paid the bills?
Oh, it was just what I don't know. Probably
When
a
did you
month.
move out?
It was November 4th and November 5th, I do believe.
So November. In August, did you pay the bills?
I am not sure.
When was the last time she paid the household bills, sir?
Sometime right around August, September. I got all the paperwork
August or
right.
September? Just listen to me carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
August or September. So she had paid whatever bills you're talking about through, say, September. So we're talking about October.
We're talking September, October, and November, ma'am.
Why didn't she pay in September?
I don't know why she didn't pay.
So what did you say to her when she didn't pay them?
I didn't know she didn't pay them. When I came home from work after she had moved out, NSP had a disconnection notice on my door to shut off my electricity at my home.
So you didn't know that those bills
No,
weren't being
ma'am, I
paid?
did not. She told me when she moved out, I asked her specifically about the bills, and I asked her father at the time about the bills. And she told me that she had paid those bills, and she had mailed them out.
Fine. And she didn't?
And she did
So
not.
she was saving a couple of dollars.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sean McMurray says ex-fiancée Melissa Cieslak owes for unpaid bills and for the return of engagement jewelry.
How much do you owe on the bills that she had agreed to pay?
It's $1,092.64, Your Honor.
All right. Are we finished with you?
I do believe that's all I have right at the present time. If I can get my kids' bed back, I greatly appreciate it.
No, you can't. You
or
can't. She took the bed. She needs a place to sleep. What else?
She moved back into her mother's house, Your Honor. She
I
had a
s-
bed at her mom's house. She
I
had
assume
two
she
beds
did.
at her mom's
I
house.
assume she did. Okay. What are your kids sleeping in, the bunk bed?
I had to go buy them a brand new bunk bed.
So now they have a new bunk bed.
Yeah, I had to buy
Way
it.
to go. Okay. Anything you want to tell me about these utility bills that you
Yeah.
didn't pay? What?
Basically that he put all the bills in a pile at the house. We went through them together, and me and him actually got in an argument over this whole deal because he put them underneath a big pile of bills, and I said, why didn't you bring this to my attention? I do not receive the mail. It's his house. He receives the mail. He did not bring it to my attention that the bills were due. I had bought in things for the dogs, the kids, the house, as far as food and everything else. That's where my money went.
But you had agreed with him to pay the utility bills.
That's what he wants to say, but it
I'm
wasn't
asking you.
really an agreement.
Well,
It
were you
wasn't like
paying
that
those
because-
bills for the months before September?
Yep.
Of course you were.
Because I had another different job.
All
and I
right,
was,
good. Okay, so you are going to, within 5 days, return his ring and his necklace.
Okay.
Not yours. Yours is a gift. And pay for the utility bills that you were supposed to pay for in the amount of $1,092. Judgment?
Your Honor, can I ask one more question?
Yes.
In my box, along with my gold necklace, was the receipt for my gold necklaces. Along with that receipt was the certificate for the warranty. Now the thing has a lifetime warranty on it.
A warranty for a necklace?
It's a Duragold necklace from Kohl's department store.
I don't know what Duragold is.
What it is it's you buy an extra. It's like paying for a necklace. You buy the next higher grade. It's a Duragold is what it's called. And along with that necklace, if it breaks at any time, you bring it back to the department store.
I never heard of Duragold. Did you ever hear of Duragold?
No, but anything's
You
possible.
bring it back to the department store at any time. They'll replace it for no cost. Without that receipt, the necklace
If
is
she
useless.
has a copy of the receipt,
She
should
has
make...
the receipt.
Well, she needs one too, because I assume that you bought her a Duragold
And there are two
necklace
receipts
too.
in that paperwork. Yes, ma'am.
You have an extra copy of the warranty for him?
But can I also mention that when he had showed me the necklace, the first one I got was for Christmas. The second one, he had told me specifically it was in case I ever lost this necklace, it was another one because it was such a good deal.
Give him his necklace back. It didn't work out. Put a period. Move on. You look like two nice young people. Do your children live with you, sir?
I have them part-time every other weekend.
How old are they?
One's 11 and one's 3.
They're a full-time job, right?
Yeah, they are.
I just remember something my mother used to say to me. 2 children aren't twice as hard as 1. It's 10 times as hard. And 3 children are probably 300 times as hard as 2. I just want you to remember that.
I will.
Good.
Thank you. These are excused. You may step out.
Very defensive, very angry man he is.
I'm not an angry person. We both have our problems, you know what I mean? We're not angry people. We just don't get along together.
I never ever once wanted to hurt him or
हुरैन चला आ जा